Hi, I'm Tom Ingram and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jacques Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
There is no terrible way to win. There is only winning.
Let me drive. I will make a fool out of you.
Every one of us has to find a reason to do this. You do it because you're driven.
I was beginning to think I'd never be anything more than a piston-happy, lead-foot punk. Then this starts to happen.
Somebody put it in your mind you gotta be perfect every time out or you're a failure. Well, forget that. Just forget it.
You ready to put away your toys and grow up? Are you ready to make more money in 1 year than your father made in his whole life? Are you ready to become a real race car driver?
When I won it was probably the last time I ever felt pure victory.
Because I'm quicker than all of you.
And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.
But hell, isn't that what we're in this for? To stare death in the face and to cheat it? Come on, there's nobility in that. It's like being knights.
No pressure, nobody breathing down my back, just driving because I left it pure.
A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing is important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
I just hope when you do, that I'm there to see it.
Racing. That's the name of the game, isn't it? Win or lose, put up or shut up.
Fine. Then let's race.
Hi, I'm Weitske Visser and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Welcome back. The action is about to get started at the Motorsport UK British Kart Championships season opener. It's the second round of the championship. Yesterday was round 1. Today is round 2 as we get ourselves into the action for the IAME classes. IAME Cadet, Junior, Senior and Mini X30 classes over the course of the day. 20 races that will decide who is going to lead the championship coming out of this second round of the championship. And it's going to be a very exciting battle for us to get to that stage. It's going to be very exciting racing, and obviously with the 20 races on offer, we will have plenty of great action and plenty of overtakes, battles, and rip-roaring motorsport. Jake Sanson up in the commentary box, overlooking the start-finish line here at PF International, hosted by Trent Valley Kart Club, of course, here in Lincolnshire. And it's cloudy and overcast at the moment. It means that it's going to be cooler conditions than we saw yesterday. We've seen faster times than we saw yesterday as well as a catalyst. 10 degrees Celsius air temperature. Track temperature is going to be about 12 to 13 degrees Celsius most likely. And that means that the drivers will obviously be pushing right from the off. Yesterday we had an action-packed day of drama. If you missed any of it, you can always listen back to it on the Downforce Radio feed, which is free to download to your tablets and mobile phones via the application called Spreaker. Just search for Motorsport UK British Kart Championships and it will be there. So, all you have to do then is sit yourselves down, grab yourself a cup of coffee and a good vantage point if you're trackside and a good armchair if you're at home, wherever you are around the world. And we will have some absolutely epic motorsport to talk about over the course of the day. It's obviously going to be a very important day's race action for all of these drivers. They have come from all over the world to compete, and as such, we have listeners from all over the world who have tuned into our feed. From yesterday's feed, we had people listening in from not just the United Kingdom, but also from the United States of America, from Japan, from Korea, from Canada, from Oman, and from the European countries of Italy, France, Germany, and even as far away as Australia. They have been listening to what has been going on here at the Motorsport UK British Kart Championships. It's not just a national championship for karting in the United Kingdom, it is a truly international spectacle, and amazing to see that our efforts here at PF International in Lincolnshire are going global. So the drivers are getting themselves ready for the first race of the day. And as it was yesterday, it is IAME Cadet that will head out on circuit first. Groups A and B from the time qualifying session earlier. And it is a completely different form book compared to what we saw yesterday as well. It was Sonny Smith on pole position 24 hours ago at exactly the same point in the day. Today, it's all changed. The weather conditions are cooler, the clouds are out, there's not as much sunshine in the air, and that means that everything has changed and transformed into a very different battle altogether. In all 4 classes, the grid is different, and that means that lots of the drivers who might not have had an opportunity to be successful yesterday will get that chance today in round 2. The green flag flies atop the gantry, and the IAME Cadets, will head out onto the circuit for the first race of the day. Let's talk you through the starting grid as the drivers rev up and warm up the tyres and brakes on their rolling lap. It's Kian Nakamura-Berta of Japan on pole position, from Harley Keeble in second. Aidan Neate and Leo Robinson for the Fusion Motorsport squad are on the second row. The Scotsman, Harry Junior Burgoyne, is alongside Vinnie Phillips. Then Archie Clark is beside the superb privateer Macaulay Bishop. And then it is Lewis Werrell and Sonny Smith, teammates at Oliver Rowland Motorsport, in the top 10. Maximus Hall, the Gladiator, is 11th on the grid alongside Ethan Jeff Hall for Strawberry Racing. Ellis Stevens lines up beside the first of the Knight Rider brothers, Zach Knight, for Mark Baines Motorsport. His teammate and brother, Will Knight, is behind him, and alongside him is Joe Katsantonis. The Canadian star, Hadi Mamasi, lines up beside the Chinese ace, Newman Chi. Then the two Scotsmen, Jack Cunningham and Fraser Anderson, share a row of the grid with George Edgar and Mason Rudman. And then it's the Welsh lady, Sky Parker, beside Ben Smith. So the drivers are getting themselves up to temperature. They're dialing themselves in, ready for a start. The tyres and brakes are coming up as well. So everybody is ready for a good start. This should be a rip-roaring first race from IAME Cadet. A lot of drivers with a point to prove, other the difficulties of yesterday for some of them. Others will just want a little bit of recompense for a tough couple of laps in the final. And it's an amazing format when you consider we had a final with lots of heats leading up to it yesterday, and now they've got to do it all over again on Sunday. A unique karting format for the British Kart Championships in 2019, and so far everybody seems to absolutely adore it, especially when the finals are very long races, 15 minutes plus the lap, but for the moment it is 8 minutes plus the lap for the heats. So the drivers are getting ready for the action. They're up to starters' orders and we're racing. Already a cracking start to the first corner and a brilliant getaway from Aidan Neate as they charge through the first chicane under the Litchfield Bridge. And it's a perfect start for Kian Nakamura-Berta. His teammate Aidan Neate has crept up to second position. So it looks as though the Fusions are 1 and 2 already, with two of the Oliver Rowland Motorsport karts in the mix. That's got to be Harley Keeble and I think a fast-starting Harry Junior Burgoyne, who's in the mix there in fourth position. No, he's in second place, in fact. So Harry Junior Burgoyne has leapt through past Aidan Neate as round the outside comes Harley Keeble, the number 9, trying to get a good run off the curbs. He bangs wheels with Aidan Neate, but gets himself back onto the racetrack and makes the move into third position. Hesitation as Vinnie Phillips now has Sonny Smith to the inside. He goes through. Macaulay Bishop makes up 2 or 3 places and puts himself on the back straight as it's now 3 wide for the Fusions. Behind them, Robinson, Archie Clark and Vinnie Phillips. They are now in that order as they go through the chicane, and there's been a problem on the first hairpin after the bridge. I'm not sure who that is that's gone, but we've already lost one of the drivers from the fray. And I think, unfortunately, that is Jack Cunningham. He had difficulties yesterday, and it looks as though day 2 has not improved things any. What a shame for Jack. But over the line, a clear leader in Kian Nakamura-Berta, with Harry Junior Burgoyne and Harley Keeble second and third, working to go and catch him now, as he's already 1.2 seconds up the road. Aidan Neate is fourth from Sonny Smith and Macaulay Bishop doing a grand job as the leading privateer and right up in the top 6. Many people would have thought the days of a privateer taking it to the big teams were long gone, but it seems Macaulay Bishop is rewriting the history books. Down the back straight, Kian Nakamura-Berta leads the way. Harry Junior Burgoyne in second. Harley Keeble running very well this weekend. They're in third position, dialed in behind Harry Junior. But out in front, it is Kian Nakamura-Berta, the Japanese ace, putting on a good show. Then the Oliver Rowland Motorsport twins, Burgoyne and Keeble. Aidan Neate running well in front of Sonny Smith. Macaulay Bishop shadowing their every move. Then it's Vinnie Phillips in front of Leo Robinson and Archie Clark. Back into the top 10, it's Maximus Hall. Then Lewis Werrell, Ellis Stevens. Then Mimasi, the 2 Knights. Zach in front of Will. Then Joe Katsantonis from Mason Rudman. Then Chi, Smith, Parker, Edgar Anderson and Ethan Jeff Hall after an incident on lap 1. Down at the back making a recovery. And unfortunately, Jack Cunningham, as we already know, is sat at the marshal post out of the race at the first hairpin. So Kian Nakamura-Berta leads the way. Harry Junior Burgoyne and Harley Keeble still battling together to catch him up. They've made a ground, but not by much. Only 0.04 of a second gained. As Aidan Neate and Sonny Smith have pressure from Macaulay Bishop. They go over the bridge. No change in the top 6 as yet, but Harry Junior Burgoyne and Harley Keeble are now going to work together. Harley Keeble onto the back of his teammate down the back straight. They come into the braking zone for the first hairpin. All seems safe and sound in the top 10. No major changes as yet. There's still plenty of time to go in this race. Just a whisker under 5 minutes plus the additional lap. And of course, each lap takes about 1 minute and 7 seconds when they're on the limit. So the drivers working their way through the S's. They are not long races in the heats, so you've got to get on with it and get into the battle fast and furious. There's some good progress made by several drivers in the field. Sonny Smith up 5 places to 5th position off the start. Good progress from him. Mason Rudman's going well as well. He's made up 5 from 22nd on the grid to 17th, so some good progress there. And plenty of drivers with work to do still. But down the main straight, the gap is definitely less than 1.1 now. Harry Junior Burgoyne and Harley Keeble have closed up to within less than a second of Kia Nakamura-Berta. Aidan Neate and Sonny Smith work together with Macaulay Bishop hot on their heels as they run 4th, 5th and 6th. 7th and 8th are now Vinnie Phillips and Leo Robinson. Fastest lap of the race from Vinnie Phillips on that lap as they drop down off the bridge. And now Macaulay Bishop is swarming around trying to shake off the 2 Fusion karts behind him. But there's 5 of them in a row for 4th position, led by Vinnie Phillips, then Sonny Smith, Macaulay Bishop, running very wide, but he's got plenty of power out of the corner. He's got so much composure to keep that kart in the straight and narrow. He's got completely different racing lines to some of the other drivers out there, but he's got so much gusto as Vinnie Phillips now makes his move up the inside. And also getting through is his teammate Leo Robinson. They've both come through as Will Knight has received a warning. I'm not sure what for, but apparently a bit of an issue there on that particular run. As now it's a 3-way fight for the lead. Harry Junior Burgoyne and Harley Keeble have been working solidly as a team, and they have caught up Kia Nakamura-Berta down the straight. And Harry Junior Burgoyne's going to get a run at Kia Nakamura-Berta to the first corner. The gap down to 0.1 of a second. They were 0.7 of a second quicker than Nakamura-Berta on that last lap. So being out in front on your own in IAME Cadet, nowhere near as fast as having 2 or 3 to work with. And so they come down the back straight. Is Harry Junior Burgoyne going to make his move for the lead? No, he's going to drop his teammate and work with Kia Nakamura-Berta to get away. No, he changes his mind. Goes for the lead in the first hairpin. Harry Junior Burgoyne gets through, and there's enough space for Harley Keeble to get by as well in the second place. Brilliant driving. So Kia Nakamura-Berta down to 3rd. So it's Junior Burgoyne who leads it. Keeble 2nd. Nakamura-Berta now 3rd as they come up to the S's for the first time. And there's a spin further back. That's one of the Fusions that's gone towards the back of the grid. I think that is George Edgar. He rejoins, but George Edgar has had a little bit of a slip up there. He gets going again. So out at the Mike Wilson complex, Kia Nakamura-Berta still running at the sharp end, but not in the lead anymore. It's Harry Junior Burgoyne who leads the race in front of Harley Keeble, then Kia Nakamura-Berta. 4th place is still Aidan Neate as he charges ahead of his teammate Vinnie Phillips, then Sonny Smith and Leo Robinson. Then it's Macaulay Bishop, Archie Clark, who's dropped the pack behind him. As for 10th position, there's now a bit of a war between Maximus Hall and Lewis Werrell. Through the hairpin. Looks as though Vinnie Phillips is under some pressure now as he tries to get close to Aidan Neate down the back straight. Leo Robinson has got through on Sonny Smith, so he's up into 6th position. No change in the top 5. Macaulay Bishop is still very close to the back of Leo Robinson and Sonny Smith as they run together in 6th and 7th. 10th place, Maximus Hall versus Lewis Werrell. Then it's Ella Stevens in 12th place, doing a much better job so far in terms of consistent pace. And then we've got the Knight brothers, who are 13th and 14th at the moment, Zach and Will. They cleaned up in a couple of rounds in various other championships in the last couple of weekends. They've been at the front end, but now it's all about what happens to them out in the British Championships, and they are on the cusp of the top 10. They just need a little bit more luck and a little bit more fortune to go their way to get them back up the order once again. Here they come over the line. Harley Keeble working with Harry Junior Burgoyne through the first chicane as they fly under the Litchfield Bridge. And now they're going to sweep round on the far side of the first hairpin. A really good battle. Square left over the bridge. Square right to drop back onto the back straight once again. But this is all going beautifully for the leaders. Harry Junior Burgoyne and Harley Keeble out front. 3rd place for Kia Nakamura-Berta. And meanwhile, 4th and 5th position still chasing each other as up the inside. That's a big, bold move from Archie Clark. And he gets through on the inside of Sonny Smith to move up into 8th position. That's a really good lunge from him. He came from a long way back to finish that move off. So a good bit of driving there from Archie Clark. Clearly the old rallying genes from grandfather Roger still very prominent in that particular family. But all the way through to the right square at Bobby Game are the leaders, and through to the Mike Wilson complex, that long flowing right-hand hairpin into the tight left flick And now you've got these three still nose to tail. But with the time run down to 0, it's time to act. And as they come onto the last lap now, Kian Nakamura-Berta is going to need to make a move. Harley Keeble is going to try his defensive moves to keep him at bay. Kian Nakamura-Berta forces the issue, but Harley Keeble does not let him go. Keeble's going to go for the lead to counteract any chance he might have of losing out to Nakamura-Berta. They've both drifted wide. Nakamura-Berta takes the lead. Oh, a bit of an error there from the two Oliver Rowland Motorsport cards, but Keeble is into second place with plenty of opportunity now to go for Kian Nakamura-Berta, who is flirting with the inside line as they go down to the braking zone. Up the inside of his teammate Keeble goes Harry Jr. Burgoyne. He now takes up the challenge to go for Kian Nakamura-Berta. Harley Keeble switches to the right side as the other two hug the inside. Keeble tries to change tack. Nakamura-Berta, hesitant, cuts across on Harry Jr. Burgoyne. Keeble comes back through. Meanwhile, Leo Robinson has split the two Fusion teammates up in front. He's in front of Phillips, behind Aidan Neate, and they're squabbling. Here we go for the lead. A great battle between these three up front. Looks as though desperation for Kian Nakamura-Berta as he tries desperately to hang on to the lead of the race, and he has done. For the moment at least, it looks like Aidan Neate has come through into third position. They'll come out of the final turn, and it's going to be a proper squabble to the line, but Kian Nakamura-Berta has done just enough. Nakamura-Berta in front of Keeble, Neate and Harry Jr. Burgoyne, from Vinnie Phillips and Macaulay Bishop back into 6th place ahead of Leo Robinson. Sonny Smith is 8th ahead of Archie Clark in the end, so Smith retaliating fine. Werrell into 10th place ahead of Maximus Hall come the finish of the race. Ella Stevens in front of Will and Zach Knight, then Hadi Mamasi and Joe Katsantonis from Ethan Jeff Hall, and Mason Rudman. Sky Parker fights back to 19th in front of Newman Chi, then Ben Smith, Fraser Anderson, George Edgar, and our one lone retiree, namely Jack Cunningham. Well, what an exciting fight that was to the death, and it looks as though Kian Nakamura-Berta is going to have to work very hard to keep them at bay this time. It will be a very tall order to keep them back in second position. So let's see what they're able to come up with as things progress. But we are really going to have some serious action from the drivers in this race day. Kian Nakamura-Berta out in front from Harley Keeble, Aidan Neate, Harry Jr. Burgoyne, then Vinnie Phillips, Macaulay Bishop, Robinson Smith, Clark, and Maximus Hall. What a start to the day. Really exciting stuff.
There is no terrible way to win. There is only winning.
Let me drive. I will make a fool out of you. Every one of us has to find a reason to do this. You do it because you're driven.
I was beginning to think I'd never be anything more than a piston-happy lead-foot punk. Then this starts to happen.
Somebody put it in your mind you gotta be perfect every time out or you're a failure. Well, forget that. Just forget it.
You ready to put away your toys and grow up? Are you ready to make more money in 1 year than your father made in his whole life? Are you ready to become a real race car driver?
When I won it was probably the last time I ever felt pure victory.
Because I'm quicker than all of you.
And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.
I mean, hell, isn't that what we're in this for? To stare death in the face and to cheat it? I mean, come on, there's nobility in that. It's like being knights.
No pressure, nobody breathing down my back, just driving because I left it pure.
A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing's important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
I just hope when you do, that I'm there to see it.
Racing. That's the name of the game, isn't it? Win or lose, put up or shut up.
Fine. Then let's race.
Listening to Downforce Radio.
So the race action will continue. It's going to be a very tough battle from here on in, though. That is for certain. We know exactly how tough the drivers are going to make it in IAME Cadet. Next up, though, it is Junior X30 for 2 back-to-back race heats. And after yesterday's war, it's going to be an absolutely biblical contest between the drivers in Junior X30. At least 20 of the drivers on this grid have the capability to win the race in the final this afternoon. I would say 30 of them have the potential to be on the winner's podium, and there are a good 50 of them in the grid for this weekend. So it's always going to be very tight and very even. Up at the sharp end of the field in Junior X30, we'll see lots of terrific racecraft from the drivers. From the qualifying sessions earlier on, though, we have official confirmation as to how it all played out. And from the time qualifying session, it was Will Murdoch who emerged fastest, just 100th of a second in front of Joe Taylor, with a very close battle. Oliver Behrman, Caden McQueen, and Georgi Dimitrov, as well as Reggie Dewey and Tyler Reed, are all within 0.2 of a second of Murdoch's time, though, so incredibly close at the sharp end of the field. The green flag flies, and now we'll get the first heat of the Junior X30 Brigade out on circuit. And it's going to be the pole sitter, from the time qualifying session at the front of the grid. Will Murdoch lines up beside Oliver Behrman, second in yesterday's final. Georgi Dimitrov, the winner of it, alongside Tyler Reid. Then Ivan Lomliev and Sam Heading on row 3 from Marcus Littlewood and Aaron Walker for Strawberry Racing. Then it is Harvey Ryby and Sam Shaw, Dan Butterworth and Josh Rowledge, Harry Cottrell alongside Blake Anglis from the Japanese star Douglas Bolger and Sam Hawthorne. Then Aaron Reshepi of Switzerland and Jamie Mead for the MLC Motorsport team. Archie Walker lines up beside the Irishman JP Slater. Aaron J. Walker for Dan Holland Racing is all the way down beside Jacob McComb in the AP Racing Kart, also struggling in qualifying. Alex Moody alongside the Jamaican Carly Atkins, who didn't get a good lap in. And neither, of course, did Mikai Singh, who pulled off on his first qualifying run. So it's going to be quite a tough battle. They all know what's at stake. There's a lot of close races at the top end of the field. You've only got to look at the quality of the drivers in the top 10 of the grid here. Will Murdoch, Oliver Behrman, Georgi Dimitrov, Tyler Reid, Ivan Lomliev, Sam Heading, Marcus Littlewood, Aaron Walker, Harvey Ryby, Sam Shaw. All of those 10 can win this heat very easily indeed. And even a few of the drivers outside that top 10. You look at the likes of Dan Butterworth. Josh Rowledge is a long way down off the grid where he wants to be. And he's got so much fight in him. Also the likes of Cottrell, Anglis, Bolger, Hawthorne. But let's find out. We get a clean start straight after the first corner, in through the chicane. And it's a clean start, just about. All knitting their way through to the Litchfield Bridge. And now through the long sweeping left-hander, it is Murdoch who heads the way from Behrman up to third position. Georgi Dimitrov managing to hold off the attentions of Tyler Reid, who remains in fourth place. Then it is Sam Heading, who has come up to fifth position in front of a rapid starting Ivan Lomliev. But making up progress already. That looks like Josh Rowledge has made up about 3 places already on the grid. He's tucked in behind Sam Shaw with Dan Butterworth up in front of them in the spirit of Senna colours as they come onto the long straight towards the chicane. They've come off the first 2 hairpins. No problem at all as they now wend their way through. Lots of curb for Heading as well as Lomliev. So that battle is going to get intense as they lose a little bit of momentum up to the far side through the Mike Wilson complex. We're going to get some really exciting racing now as the leader, Will Murdoch, comes through with Oliver Behrman charging after him down the main straight. Georgi Dimitrov in third, Tyler Reid in fourth. It's as they started in the top 4 then, but it's going to get more exciting from there. Heading, Lomliev, Aaron Walker, Littlewood, Shaw, Rowledge up to 10th from Sam Hawthorne and Harvey Ryby. Then Butterworth, Bolger, Slater, Reshepi, McComb, Atkins, Anglis, Archie Walker, Alex Moody, Jamie Mead, Mikai Singh, Harry Cottrell and Aaron J. Walker after a very difficult start. He's already made his way past Harry Cottrell though, up into 24th. Here goes Lomliev up on the inside of Sam Heading, and he's there to 5th position. Meanwhile, Josh Rowledge has made the jump on Butterworth, Shaw, and the 31 there of, the 51, I should say, of Sam Hawthorne. So he's made up plenty of places already, Josh Rowledge, and now he's got his teammate Aaron Walker up the road, struggling to deal with Lomliev and Heading. So some good race battles on the far side of the circuit already. Up through the Mike Wilson complex, your race leader is still Will Murdoch. Behrman in second place, Dimitrov in third. Fourth position now, Tyler Reid. They come down the main straight once again. Lots of potential from this race. Dimitrov is working with Behrman to close up on Will Murdoch. Lomliev through to 5th position behind Tyler Reid, but ahead of Heading and Aaron Walker. Then Rowledge, Littlewood, Sam Hawthorne, Sam Shaw. Harvey Ryby still 12th ahead of Bolger from Slater, Reshepi and Butterworth. So they're going to go very fast down the back straight as they continue to duel away. Oh, a little moment there from Littlewood as he drives. Oh, a big mistake from Littlewood as he goes into the back of Heading's kart there. And that's allowed Bolger to sweep past 3 of them. Harvey Ryby trying to get advantage on Littlewood as they come through the far side. And Harvey Ryby's going to get the undercut. Good switchback from the Pierce Sexton racing driver. And Harvey Ryby slips through. He's having a much better day too than he did yesterday. And Harvey Ryby looking much more composed and so much faster. So through the Mike Wilson complex come our 3 leaders. And it's Dimitrov who's now hit the front in front of Behrman and Murdoch. So they've had a proper shuffle. Out of my sight of vision, unfortunately. You've got to focus on the midfield as well as the leaders. But it's Dimitrov who leads from Behrman and Murdoch. Then Tyler Reid, Ivan Lomliev, Heading, Walker, Rowledge, Hawthorne and Bolger. Sam Shaw and Harvey Ryby still scrapping away with Littlewood in 13th place. Over the Litchfield Bridge come the leaders. Behrman's got a good run on Dimitrov, but he's going to come from a long way back if he wants to get the lead at the first hairpin. He's going to have to time it right in through the first hairpin. Back on the power again. And he still has Will Murdoch and Tyler Reid in his exhaust fumes at the moment. Dimitrov still running well in the lead of the race. Up to 5th has come Ivan Lomliev, as we know, and he's now gaining ground on the top 4. The 2 strawberry karts of Aaron Walker and Josh Rowledge are now going to tag team it if they can get onto the back of Sam Heading. They go onto the far side up by the Mike Wilson complex. Looks as though Alex Moody's had a difficult moment and has dropped to the very tail end of the field, unfortunately, with all sorts of difficulties. Down the main straight and over the line goes Dimitrov, still leading the way with just under 4 minutes to go. Behrman 2nd, Murdoch 3rd, Reed and Lomliev 4th and 5th. Then it is Heading in front of Walker and Rowledge. Aaron Walker and Josh Rowledge, the 2 strawberry teammates, as Murdoch makes the move on Behrman and gets through into 2nd place. So Murdoch takes over 2nd position once more. The ST Racing driver doing a fine job here this weekend, and particularly in this 2nd day of action, as Lomliev makes the move on the inside of Tyler Reed, and that's job done. As far as he's concerned, that is the moment. He has moved his way through into 4th position. Taking his way through the hairpin and back down the straight again. Tyler Reed still giving a lot of pressure to Ivan Lomliev. Can they get back on the power once again? Up towards the right-hander, through Bobby Game Corner, and up towards the Mike Wilson complex. A very tricky end to the lap, this. Reprofiled in recent years, of course. Dimitrov runs in the lead from Murdoch and Behrman, Lomliev and Tyler Reed. Then in 6th place now is Aaron Walker. So he's made his move on Sam Heading, and it's not going to be long before Josh Rowledge repeats the feat. Through the chicane, under the Litchfield Bridge, and charging his way through is up the inside. A bold move from Douglas Bolger on Sam Hawthorne, and he gets the place as there's a warning gone out for Marcus Littlewood. Not sure what that's for. Might have been for one of the earlier incidents in the first couple of laps of the race. But the top 8 have well and truly broken clear of Douglas Bolger and Sam Hawthorne up front. As for the lead, Murdoch gets through on Dimitrov, and so too does Behrman. Tyler Reed's going to use the momentum switch to get up the inside of Lomliev, and it looks as though Behrman now takes the lead from Murdoch in the 2nd hairpin. And through to 5th position has come Aaron Walker. He's made the move on Lomliev. Heading has gone down into the clutches of Josh Rowledge now. So the top 8 are having an absolute dogfight as they lead the race. Up through to the Mike Wilson complex once again, and it's Behrman who leads the way. 2nd is now Murdoch in front of Dimitrov. Then it is Tyler Reed, who is 4th position. Up in 5th place, that is Aaron Walker. Then it is Lomliev in front of Heading and Rowledge. So the top 8 sweep onto the Litchfield Bridge. Looks as though a couple of manoeuvres could come from these 8. Up to 10th position now has come Harvey Ryby. He's having a great race. As on the inside, that's Lomliev trying to battle his way through on the inside of Aaron Walker. It doesn't work. Walker's already made the tack to get through on Georgi Dimitrov. Reed's gone through to 3rd as well. And for the lead, Murdoch gets through Behrman. Aaron Walker gets through on Tyler Reed. So Murdoch through to 1st, Walker through to 3rd. Dimitrov down to 5th position. Lomliev now 6th in front of Josh Rowledge, who's got past Sam Heading. And for 9th position, Harvey Ryby gets through on the inside of Hawthorne. What a race Harvey Ryby's having. That's the kind of racing we wanted to see from him. And he is looking likely to be the best of the rest at the moment, with Hawthorne and Bolger hot on his heels. Great racing from Harvey Ryby today. So through the Mike Wilson complex once again. Behrman out in front. Up to 2nd now has come Aaron Walker. He's made the move on Tyler Reed, who's got past Murdoch. So it's an all change. Behrman now leads Aaron Walker, gunning for British Kart Championship victory. Tyler Reed, Will Murdoch, Georgi Dimitrov, Ivan Lomliev, Josh Rowledge and Sam Heading. This is going to be such a tough battle. The last 40 seconds of the race. So it's going to be the penultimate lap as Dimitrov makes the move on Murdoch. So does Lomliev. So they're through to 4th and 5th. Rowledge is going to try and get through to 6th place on Murdoch. It's a nice move. And there's a gap opened up by Reed for Dimitrov, but it's shut very quickly. And now Murdoch's got a bit of a job to hang back from Heading, who goes right round the outside of the 2nd hairpin. Can't get the job done. Walker is insistently waving to Behrman. Let's get away. Let's try and shake off Tyler Reed in 3rd position. But Dimitrov is still there waiting in the wings. There's some cracking race battles going on further back. As up into 9th position, that looks to me like Sam Shaw potentially is now in the mix in the gaggle further back. But Harvey Ryby is still desperately trying to cope with Douglas Bolger, who is now in front of him. Into the last lap they go. Behrman leads Walker and Reed. Reed is giving Aaron Walker a helping hand as he goes for the lead. Aaron Walker up the inside of Behrman. They drift wide. Behrman manages to hang on to it. Walker's still there in 2nd. Tyler Reed hangs back for 3rd, but Dimitrov now strikes into turn 5 and gets him. So Dimitrov into 3rd position. Here comes Lomliev, assisted by Rowledge. down to the braking zone. Dimitrov goes for a very late lunge on Walker, gets through into second place, and Lomliev's going to get alongside him, but Walker will fight back and gets back into third position. Reed on the inside of Lomliev gets through as well, and also on the side. Oh, big tussle between Lomliev and Rowledge as Lomliev chops right across. That's allowed Murdoch to get through on Rowledge. Rowledge down to the back of the queue now in 7th, potentially 8th if Heading can get through. But all that jostling and all that wheel banging is going to have to be explored. But out in front, it is going to be Oliver Behrman in front of Dimitrov and Aaron Walker. What a race, but it's a victory for Oliver Behrman. He's done it again. Second place for Dimitrov, third for Aaron Walker. Tyler Reed is fourth from Lomliev, Murdoch, Herding and Rowledge. JP Sleater, the Irishman, breaks through to 9th position in the final closing stages with Douglas Bolger, Sam Hawthorne and Harvey Riley in the mix as well. Sam Shaw did come up to 13th as I predicted he would. Carly Atkins, the Jamaican, has stormed up 10 places to 14th from Littlewood. Blake Anglis, and then Archie Walker in front of Aaron J. Walker, his teammate, and then Jamie Mead and Dan Butterworth rounding out the 20 from Mikai Singh, Jacob McComb, Aaron Reshepi, Alex Moody and Harry Cottrell. They all finished the race, but what a battle. And that was just for starters. That was only the first heat. Absolutely sensational stuff. Really exciting battles and a terrific bit of racing. So we're going to see some really epic encounters from the drivers as they continue to battle away. And I have a feeling we're going to see some really intense battles through the course of this Sunday afternoon that is approaching us with the remainder of the heats. Oliver Behrman, though, stamps his authority on the rest of the field after a truly sensational scrap up at the front end. 8 drivers bidding for the victory, but nobody could topple Behrman in that one. But it does look as though Dimitrov and Aaron Walker are very much up for the fight today. They are there in the top 3, and it's going to be hard to shake them away from it. So that is a great race in Junior X30 as the youngster from Chelmsford in Essex, Oliver Behrman for KR Sports, starts his day in fine style, second in the final yesterday, and he opens his account with a win. That's exactly the way he wanted to get things off to start. So now, what comes next? Well, it's a very simple move from here on in. And we're going to see some absolutely fantastic battles as the championship continues on in Junior X30. Their second heat comes immediately after this one. So there is still some great battles to come. And the races are obviously going to be very much on their A-game from the start. But we're going to see some magnificent spectacles as the racers are obviously wanting to get plenty of good racecraft and good manoeuvres through the course of the day. But that second heat is going to be just as competitive as we had for the first heat, as obviously the competition in this Junior X30 class is ridiculously even, and we're going to see a lot of drivers up at this sharp end of the field who are going to want to continue their play with a lot of gusto. So the Junior X30 field are obviously now split into half because of the number of drivers competing. They will compete across 4 heats. That one race was the first of those. And then, of course, the first 28 drivers across accumulated points will go through to the final. The way they score points is very similar to golf, actually, in these rounds of heats. You score points based on your finishing position. So it's 0 points for the victory, and then it's 2 points for second, 3 for third, 4 for fourth, 5 for fifth, and so on and so on. And whoever has the least amount of points, just as in golf, is the one who will start at the front of the grid. The top 28 points drivers accumulated will be guaranteed a place in the final. The remaining drivers will then bid for the last 6 spaces on that final grid in the repechage a little after lunchtime. If any of that made any sense to anybody, I clearly wasn't telling it right, because it's difficult to do that when the bacon sandwich is only just kicking in. So anyway, good battles from the Junior X30 first race. The second race is coming up on this blustery, chilly day here at PF International in Lincolnshire. Wherever you are listening, whether trackside here at the circuit here in Grantham or around the world, we have a truly international audience listening from all 4 corners of the globe, because the drivers have come from all 4 corners of the globe to be here in the various 4 categories. But there's now a truly continental mix of drivers preparing to go racing. The track has been given the all clear by the marshals, made up majoritively of the Trent Valley Kart Club marshals team, and they are doing an absolutely stellar job once again. I had a fantastic opportunity to join them out on the circuit on Friday for an entire day, freezing to death. But what a fantastic discipline. And I totally encourage anybody in the world of motor racing to don those orange jackets and jerseys and give it a go. You don't understand how hard it is until you do it. So the drivers are heading out on circuit for the Junior X30 second heat of the day. And what a heat it's going to be. Joe Taylor and Caden McQueen from the front of the grid, with Reggie Dewey and Alex Lee on the second row of the grid. From Tom Edgar and Josh McLean, Alessandro Serenetti and Chris Harnan. Charlie Cole and Darrell Taylor are next, from Freddie Spindlow and Oliver Gray. Then Oliver Duffel and Dylan Hodgkin. Tom Levin and Rashan Chigarimbo. Wilgod Edqvist and Kasper Skuza. From Zach Meakin and Max Meir. James Walker and Drew Davidson. And at the back, it's Ben Jenkins and Oscar Joyce. But both drivers will be absolutely resolute and determined to make their way further forward up the progress through the field. So they start to weave. Tyres and brakes are getting up to temperature once again. Very, very important to make sure you warm it up to exactly the right temperature, exactly the right balance off the grid. Everything's got to be just so in Junior X30. All of the competitors will want to have a clean run. So, Joe Taylor from Caden McQueen, Reggie Dewey from Alex Lee, Tom Edgar and Josh McLean, Alessandro Serenetti and Chris Harnan, then Charlie Cole, and alongside him, Darrell Taylor. That is a very competitive top 10. The drivers will come through that final chicane and into the tram lines. Once they're coming down that long straight, they will be in position. We're ready for a clean start. Drivers are coming through in position. Wait for the lights to come off. They do, and we're away on racing. And it's a cracking start from Joe Taylor. But round the outside, Caden McQueen trying to squeeze him. Reggie Dewey's going to get a good run up the hill. And round the outside, he tries to go straight around the outside of the leading two. He has to tuck back into third position. There's plenty of time to spare. So there's a yellow flag at the Litchfield Bridge. Somebody has gone off underneath that third corner. Yellow flags are waving, so it's not the cleanest of starts for one of the competitors in the field. We'll try and figure out who it is quickly. They have rejoined at the back of the field. It's one of the Tony Karts by the look of it. I wonder if it's Wilgod Edqvist, actually, the Swede, who is there at the back. Yes, it is Wilgod Edqvist. My apologies to him. And it's what a commiseration for the young Swede. So, unfortunately, Wilgod Edqvist now has to make up a massive amount of progress, but he can do so. He's fast enough. So the drivers continue to battle away through the far side of the course into the Mike Wilson complex. And out in front, it is Caden McQueen who has hit the front. Reggie Dewey now into second place past Joe Taylor. Let battle commence as they come down the main straight. And it's Caden McQueen versus Reggie Dewey and Joe Taylor. Fourth place, Alex Lee. Then Edgar, McLean, Serenetti, Taylor, Harnan, Gray, Cole, Chigarimbo, Oliver Duffel and Dylan Hodgkin. They come through the hairpin, and Reggie Dewey's hit the front already. And up the inside comes Joe Taylor, and also comes Alex Lee on Caden McQueen. McQueen will not let him through, though. He remains third. But Reggie Dewey has hit the front ahead of Joe Taylor. They go down the back straight. Looks like a big run coming up for Tom Edgar as he tries to fight his way through on the inside line. And Alessandro Serenetti makes the move round the outside of the first hairpin to come up to fifth position. Brilliant bit of racecraft from the Italian. What a move from Alessandro Serenetti. Now he gestures to the man in front to step on it or get out of the way. And we've had an incident further back. Unfortunately, it looks like three of them in the wars. That's Zach Meakin, who has cluttered together. Who is it he's taken with? That's the 11 of Kasper Skuza. And also Tom Leben, who's having a nightmare day, even compared to yesterday. Yesterday was tough, but today is even worse. Reggie Dewey and Joe Taylor have got clear of Caden McQueen. The three of them are now a long way ahead of Alex Lee. What's happened to Serenetti? He's slipped down the order now. So I think Serenetti got forced wide somewhere. McLean is now fifth in front of Darrell Taylor, Chris Harnan, Oliver Gray, Charlie Cole and Tom Edgar. Serenetti has rejoined, but he's down in 11th. Chigarimbo, Spindlow, Duffel, Hodgkin, Meir, James Walker, Drew Davidson, Oscar Joyce, Ben Jenkins, Wilgod Edqvist, then Zach Meakin, Kasper Skuza and Tom Leben complete the field. A big, bold move from Chigarimbo in the mid-pack as he gets up the inside of Tom Edgar and Charlie Cole. That's a big lunge. Edgar wants repents, and he comes through on the inside. Charlie Cole's got space to get back on the inside. Chigarimbo's got the power out of the course, though, and he gets back through as Hodgkin makes a beautiful lunge there on the inside of Oliver Duffel. Dylan Hodgkin having a much better race day than he did 24 hours ago. And out into the lead, we've had Joe Taylor. Oh, we've had a spin at the chicane as well. Somebody's come off the road and got going again. But Joe Taylor has hit the front in front of Reggie Dewey with Caden McQueen now in the mix. Darrell Taylor has had a warning somewhere along the line. And I'm not sure what that one is for. It looks as though Drew Davidson has pulled into the pits as too has Oscar Joyce. I wonder if it was the two of them that came together, and too much damage to continue for those two. What a shame for Davidson and Joyce. So they are out of the race on lap 3. We're on lap 4, and it's Joe Taylor in front of Reggie Dewey and Caden McQueen. The three of them have broken clear of Alex Lee and Josh McLean, the Fusion Motorsport team leader in this race at the moment. Then it is the 63 of Oliver Gray. He's fought his way up past Darrell Taylor. And it's then Alessandro Serenetti up into 8th place, past Chris Hahn and the Dutchman. And in 10th place, that is Tom Edgar, ahead of Chigarimbo, Cole, Spindlow, Hodgkin and Oliver Duffel. So they come through on the far side. They're getting their way up towards the final chicane, and it's Joe Taylor in front of Reggie Dewey and Caden McQueen. They get back onto the home straight, back on the power, up through the throttle. And here comes Josh McLean making his bid to get through on the inside of Alex Lee. No worries at all. He got a perfect line out of the final turn, and McLean goes through. Dewey has a look at Joe Taylor, who chops across and stops the rot. Into the lead remains Joe Taylor. Reggie Dewey's trying to get there. Now he's up the inside and leaves no room for negotiation. McQueen gets past both of them as a result. Back on the home serve on the back straight. Caden McQueen through into the lead. Dewey squeezes Joe Taylor. They both drift wide, and Caden McQueen is given a free pass to the lead. As they go into the second hairpin, it's McQueen from Dewey and Taylor. McLean is in 4th position. 5th place, that is the 17 of Alex Lee. And then it's Oliver Gray in front of Darrell Taylor, Alessandro Serenetti, and the Flying Dutchman, Chris Harnan. 3 minutes and 5, plus the additional lap on the time added on. It's going to be an interesting flow as they come out of the Mike Wilson complex, back into that final chicane. Left, chock it in. Right, and onto the main straight once again. But Caden McQueen given an absolute fairy tale. Golden ticket to the lead of the race there by Reggie Dewey and Joe Taylor battling away. Taylor now struggling to keep up with the leading two as Reggie Dewey has got back onto the tail of Caden McQueen. Up the inside, that's McLean. Getting back into 4th position on Alex Lee. Lee is resisting, but McLean gets through. And as those two have squabbled long enough, here comes Oliver Gray, making his bid to get through on Alex Lee now. And it won't be long before that's a big, bold move from Chris Hahn. And further back, Alessandro Serenetti goes wide. Serenetti's in trouble. Serenetti pulling off. Oh, Alessandro Serenetti pulls off and out of the race at the first hairpin. It looks as though something was broken on the kart. I don't think he got hit by anybody. So it looks as though Serenetti's pulling off with a mechanical failure. What a shame. The Trent Valley Kart Club Winter Series champion in Junior X30. 3rd yesterday on the final podium and now out of the race. Serenetti's day has just unraveled. Wow, what a shame. Down the straight comes Caden McQueen in front of Reggie Dewey. 3rd place for Joe Taylor. McLean, Gray, Lee, Harnan, Edgar, Darrell Taylor and Freddie Spindlow as they go under the Litchfield Bridge once again. And making their way round the far side. Now it's going to be Reggie Dewey making the bid to go past Caden McQueen. He's not close enough yet, but as they come down the back straight, he may get a chance into the hairpin, or he may decide to work with Caden McQueen to drop Joe Taylor and the rest of the field in tow. Up the inside goes Tom Edgar. That's good enough to move himself into 7th place, ahead of Alex Lee and behind Chris Harnan, who's really taking this race by the throat now. The Dutchman up into 6th position, charging after the two men up front. And that is Josh McLean and Oliver Gray, dueling over 4th place. So fair play to Joe Taylor, despite getting squeezed in his battle to hold on to the lead in front of Reggie Dewey and allowing McQueen to squeeze through. The pair of them managed to. He is still very much in touch with the two leaders. McQueen and Dewey are still battling away. They go down the main straight, over the line once again, and through the chicane. Right, left, Litchfield Bridge, storming up towards turn 3. No change for the leaders as they come through underneath the Litchfield Bridge. Everybody in the top grid. Now Reggie Dewey makes his bid into turn 4 and gets there. Reggie Dewey makes his move on the Litchfield Bridge and comes straight through. Now onto the back straight. He leads in front of Caden McQueen. Nice move into turn 4. McQueen coming straight back at him into the first hairpin. Through turn 6, he's back on the inside and takes the place. Now Joe Taylor is back in the fight once more. And as they come up to the second hairpin, Taylor is going to hold to the inside line. McQueen defends there. Dewey cuts back on the outside of Joe Taylor and gets back in a second position. Great dueling as McLean now gets back on the inside of Oliver Gray to defend the place, and Tom Edgar and Chris Harnan are right there for the move as Gray moves up to 4th. It looks like Edgar through to 5th place, Harnan through to 6th as Josh McLean falls down to 7th place. The leader's still dueling away, but McQueen is your leader once again in front of Dewey and Taylor, and out to 4th place, that is Oliver Gray. 5th is now Tom Edgar. He's not bothered about overtaking Gray. He wants to catch the three leaders. The last lap begins and it's going to be tight, but Gray's going to defend. Meanwhile, Joe Taylor's going to make the lunge on Reggie Dewey, and he's got there. Edgar makes the move further back on Chris Harman for 5th position, and as they come down the back straight, it's going to be McQueen, Taylor, and Dewey. Meanwhile, Gray in 4th. McLean is now 5th, and 6th is anybody's guess. McQueen has to defend from Reggie Dewey. Taylor gets alongside, and Taylor and Dewey come together for the 2nd day in a row. Reggie Dewey's first heat is going to be undone. This time he keeps going, but Taylor is off on the grass. And Joe Taylor and Reggie Dewey rejoin in the mid-pack, but Caden McQueen is now alone to run to the victory. Well, I'm sure Papa McQueen is going to be absolutely elated as the crop promotion driver comes through the Mike Wilson complex, unchallenged in the end to the victory. Gray comes through to 2nd, McLean to 3rd, but Caden McQueen is Lightning McQueen. He charges through and grabs the victory. What a race win under the Litchfield Bridge. McQueen is happy. Gray in 2nd from McLean, Tom Edgar, Chris Harnan, Alex Lee and Rashan Chigarimbo. Darrell Taylor is 8th from Charlie Cole. Freddie Spinlow 10th. Joe Taylor finishes 11th in front of Dylan Hodgkin and Reggie Dewey 13th. Max Meyer, James Walker, Oliver Duffel and Zach Meakin. Then Tom Leben, Ben Jenkins and Wilgert Edqvist in front of Casper Scusa with the 3 retirements we've already mentioned. Alessandro Serenetti out of the race with mechanical problems by the look of it. And then the 2 drivers, Drew Davidson and Oscar Joyce, retiring together on lap 3. Drama again as Joe Taylor and Reggie Dewey tangle on the final lap of the race. Well, that's the 2nd day in a row that Reggie Dewey has been involved in an incident on the final lap of the race that has wrecked his chances of being at the sharp end of the field. He's got to now fight his way further back up the order. And Joe Taylor, of course, had difficulties in yesterday's races as well. But what a dramatic case of events. I mean, obviously, from the races we had yesterday, Joe Taylor was not able to finish up at the sharp end of his heat for all of the heats. But Joe Taylor obviously came through with 2 victories in yesterday's heats. But Reggie Dewey, it's history repeating itself in the worst possible way, as obviously yesterday he ended up having a really difficult time of it. So Reggie Dewey struggled his way through. And obviously, I'm just trying to remind myself as to the case of events that happened yesterday. It was Joe Taylor battling away with Reggie Dewey in yesterday's heat as well. And I'm fairly sure they tangled yesterday as well. But it's worth a double check. I just want to go back and have a look over it. Joe Taylor, I'm not sure they were in the same heat as each other. Well, Joe Taylor ended up 11th, of course, in yesterday's first race with a penalty. And I think that's as a direct result of the incident that put Reggie Dewey down at the back of the field. So, again, those 2 involved in an incident on the last lap. So, a very exciting race. But for those 2, it's an absolute heartbreaker, as it is too for Alessandro Serenetti and the BKC racing team. Mechanical problems denying Serenetti a chance to come through after what was an exceptional move around the outside in the first hairpin to move him further up the order. Who knows where he could have progressed to. But Caden McQueen taking a fantastic victory in front of Oliver Gray and Josh McLean. So it's a completely different top 3 to the podium yesterday. And that's worth bearing in mind because you never know what's going to happen for the rest of the day. Well, Junior X30 has left us fairly breathless and excited. So I think now we'll focus in on the Senior X30 brigade. What a race that's going to be.
There is no terrible way to win. There is only winning.
Let me drive. I will make a fool out of you. Every one of us has to find a reason to do this. You do it because you're driven.
I was beginning to think I'd never be anything more than a piston-happy lead-foot punk. Then this starts to happen.
Somebody put it in your mind you gotta be perfect every time out or you're a failure. Well, forget that. Just forget it.
You ready to put away your toys and grow up? Are you ready to make more money in 1 year than your father made in his whole life? Are you ready to become a real race car driver?
When I won it was probably the last time I ever felt pure victory.
Because I'm quicker than all of you.
And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.
I mean, hell, isn't that what we're in this for? To stare death in the face and to cheat it? I mean, come on, there's nobility in that. It's like being knights.
No pressure, nobody breathing down my back, just driving because I left it pure.
A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing's important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
I just hope when you do, that I'm there to see it.
Racing. That's the name of the game, isn't it? Win or lose, put up or shut up.
Fine.
and let's race.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingram and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jake Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Time to go racing in Senior X30. They squirt out of the pits and already revving engines high as the Senior X30 drivers get themselves under starters' orders. Louis Westover and Elliot Harvey will join the front row of the grid for Dan Holland Racing, with Alex Pendlebury, the sole remaining representative in the weekend for Persistence Motorsport, alongside Morgan Porter on row 2. Matthias Zagazeta, the Peruvian, alongside Oliver Hodgson. Then Matt Armstrong alongside the French ace Romain Leroux. Then Alex Lloyd and Max Jean complete the top 10, with Rhys Ushijima beside Sean Butcher. Archie Tillett is beside Abigail Ross. Then Rory Hudson lines up beside Teddy Pritchard-Williams. The French racer Caroline Candas and Ollie Greetham. Then Rufus Hunt and Alexander Patterson. From Cameron Coombs and Eduardo Cossetang. Then Callum Driscoll, Lee Chamberlain and Axel Laflamme. I mentioned that Pendlebury is going to be the sole representative for Persistence Motorsport today. The official word is that Lewis Gilbert is sitting out the rest of the meeting. He sprained his wrist in the accident yesterday. They sent him out for the warm-up earlier today, but after 3 laps he just said, I can't do it. It's just too painful. So they are choosing to sit out the rest of the meeting. A real shame, and proof that at least there's no broken bones. But unfortunately for Lewis Gilbert, it doesn't change anything. It just means that he will now have to sit as a very frustrated spectator or make the long journey back to Dalry home a little early. So the racers are getting up to speed on the front of the grid. Lights out, and it's a cracking start from Westover. Already Alex Pendlebury slots in behind as they storm up through the first chicane. And it's a perfectly good start as they go through the first couple of corners, up to the Litchfield Bridge, in through the hairpin. Is there any change? Looks as though there's a bit of a squabble for position, but there's no major catastrophes as yet. They storm down the back straight. And out in front, it is Westover from Pendlebury and Harvey. 4th position is up for grabs as Morgan Porter slices his way up the inside of the hairpin and gets through on the Fusion driver. There, that is Matthias Zagazeta, the Peruvian racer. And up into the position behind him is Oliver Hodgson. That's for P6. There's a proper squabble for the lower positions in the midfield. Lots of good overtakes and a few choice manoeuvres, but they all just about get themselves through the middle of the course. Now we are in through to the Mike Wilson complex. We're starting to get that snake, and tram line is going to be on the way down the main straight. The drivers will hug the inside white line. And it's Louis Westover who leads from Pendlebury and Harvey. Then Porter, Zagazeta, Hodgson, Armstrong, Leroux, Lloyd, Ushijima, Jean, Butcher and Pritchard-Williams, with Ollie Greetham and Caroline Candas up next. So they came down the back straight, and that's Harvey making his bid for second place on Pendlebury. Oh, and a very big move further back as well, as I think that's Alex Lloyd making the move on Romain Leroux. And Alex Lloyd gets through. So 2 Dan Holland Racing drivers on the move. Harvey up to second, Alex Lloyd getting up into, I think, 9th position. They make that 8th place now, actually, because up in front of him is Armstrong, and that is definitely for 7th position that he is currently trying to get out of. He wants to move up past Hodgson. So a very exciting start to the race. Looks as though some big damage for Archie Tillett, the 22. The Nassau has taken a massive panel bashing. So unfortunately, Archie Tillett's got some damage at the back of the field. He may well continue, but it looks pretty beaten up to me. Down the main straight, Westover, Harvey and Pendlebury. Then it is Porter, Hodgson, Zagazeta, Armstrong, Lloyd, Leroux. Then Ushijima in front of Jean and Butcher. As up the inside, is that a lead change? Harvey gets the move on the inside of his teammate Westover, and Elliot Harvey takes over the lead of the race. So Elliot Harvey hits the front down the back straight after a perfect move into turn 4, and Pendlebury now going to make his bid to get past Westover as Hodgson dives up the inside of Morgan Porter and gets through into 4th place at the same time. So Pendlebury through to 2nd, Hodgson through to 3rd. I don't think Westover wants that. He gets back through on the inside of Pendlebury and gets back into 2nd place. Harvey's your leader. Then Westover, Pendlebury, Hodgson, Porter and Zagazeta in front of Alex Lloyd and Matt Armstrong. Some good progress through the field. Several drivers making up places. The likes of Teddy Pritchard-Williams, Ollie Greetham, Caroline Candas, the French lady. I spoke to her this morning. She's looking very comfortable this weekend here at PFI. Her first time in England. She's only been here 5 days and is doing a cracking job in the mid-pack already. Harvey, Westover, Pendlebury, Hodgson, Porter, Zagazeta, Lloyd, Armstrong, Ushijima, Max Jean, Leroux, Pritchard-Williams, Butcher, Greetham and Candas from Laflamme, Hunt, Patterson, Cossetang and Lee Chamberlain. Then it's Cameron Coombs from Rory Hudson, Abigail Ross, Archie Tillett and Callum Driscoll. So, once again, they continue on their way. It looks as though Callum Driscoll may well be out of the race. We've got a stationary yellow up at Bobby Game Corner, and that is because we've got a waved yellow at Mike Wilson Complex. Unfortunately, Driscoll is walking away from his parked cart up at the Mike Wilson Complex. He is out of the race. Meanwhile, the battle for second place rages behind Harvey. Westover, Pendlebury, Hodgson, Porter, Zagazeta, Lloyd. Lloyd is trying to make up the progress. Up to second place has come Pendlebury. So Alex Pendlebury back into P2. He's made that move in Bobby Game Corner just in time as well because the yellow flags had been withdrawn at that point. So Pendlebury into second place. Westover, then Hodgson, Porter, Zagazeta, Alex Lloyd, then Armstrong. Risa Shajima's come up to ninth place in front of Jean, Pritchard Williams, Butcher, Greetham, Gandas and LaFlamme. Then LaRue and Rufus Hunt ahead of Patterson, Cossateng, and rounding out the top 20, Cameron Coombs. Down the back straight, Hodgson looks like he's got a good run. Westover's got a better one to take second place away from Pendlebury, but he's going to slot in behind Westover and move up into third position. Hodgson, Pendlebury over the grass. Porter gets through. Zagazeta tries to cut across and come through round the outside. Holds the car to the outside line. Zagazeta keeps his foot planted, and he's going to try and hold it as Armstrong is going to try and make the bid on Lloyd. Lloyd spins! He gets onto the curb, and Lloyd is run out of road. Oh, what a shame for Alex Lloyd. He was forced into making a move on Matthias Zagazeta, and the only way to avoid hitting him was to get up on the curb, and the kart spits out. Nobody's fault. Racing incident, but unfortunately it comes off terribly unlucky for Alex Lloyd. So Harvey, Westover, Hodgson, Porter, Pendlebury, Zagazeta, Armstrong, Shijima and Jean. And then it's Teddy Pritchard Williams in the top 10 from Sean Butcher, Ollie Greetham, Caroline Gandas, Axel LaFlamme, Alex Lloyd. Then Roman LaRue, Eduardo Cossateng, Hunt, Patterson and Hudson from Coombs, Ross, Chamberlain and Tillett, with Callum Driscoll out of the race on lap 3 as we know. Hodgson now up to third place in front of Porter. Pendlebury down to fifth, squabbling with Zagazeta. Ushijima's now made his way up to seventh place past Matt Armstrong. Also through is Max Jean, but Armstrong back on the inside for Jean. He's not going to get through. Now, Westover has caught his teammate Elliot Harvey, and Oliver Hodgson and Morgan Porter are coming along for the ride. They go through Bobby Game Corner, and there's a lot of time being made up. Archie Tillett still running around with the Nassau panel well and truly biffed in. Hodgson, though, third position, round the outside of the final corner. Is there a chance now for Westover? He's going to work with his teammate Harvey with 2 minutes to go, plus the additional lap. They are running short on time, and Hodgson wants to win on home soil. They come through. Turn 4, square left, over the bridge, square right, turn 5, back down the back straight with gravity helping down the slant. And now the run to the hairpin. Here goes Westover making his bid for Harvey, and the door's still open. Hodgson can get through as well, but Harvey resists and holds on to second place. He's going to try again to get past his teammate Westover. He takes the lead. Westover's got enough power and pace to hold off Hodgson up the inside. So they retain their positions, no major changes. Morgan Porter still running well in fourth position. Then it is Zagazeta battling with Pendlebury, Ushijima, Jean. And then we have got for ninth place, that is Armstrong, Pritchard Williams and Sean Butcher from Greetham, LaFlamme, Gandas and Lloyd ahead of Roman LaRue. Bring him off the turn, down the main straight again, and Elliot Harvey still hangs on to the lead of the race. Westover in second position through the chicane. Right and left under the Litchfield Bridge, and now Westover makes his bid to come through on the inside of his teammate Elliot Harvey. They drift out wide, and that's going to be... Oh, I thought Hodgson would get through into third, but he doesn't. Westover takes the lead. Harvey remains second. That was very good control from Harvey. The kart was all over the shop, and he manages to hold it. Now Hodgson up the inside of the first hairpin to get second. Porter's going to drift through as well. Harvey keeps his foot in and goes onto the grass and drops down to fourth place behind Morgan Porter. So it's Westover leading, Hodgson second, Porter third, and now Elliot Harvey, the former race leader, is down to fourth in front of Zagazeta and Pendlebury, with Reese Ushijima there in seventh place catching them. Some good battles in the midfield. That looks like a nice move from Abigail Ross, working with Callum Barnett to go up the inside, and they've both pulled off a move. Sorry, it's Cameron Coombs, her other teammate, who's gone through. So now they come down the main straight again. Westover from Hodgson and Porter. Harvey, Zagazeta, Pendlebury and Ushijima now together in a four-way scrap for fourth. And there's going to be a move. Zagazeta up the inside of Pendlebury. Pendlebury's going to have to try and fight him off, and he has not managed to. Zagazeta holds 5th place. Ushijima's now making his bid to get through on Pendlebury down the back straight in the Piers Sexton Racing Kart. Watch out, Max Jean is closing up. They're on to the last lap, of course, so it's now or never for this 4th place battle. Ushijima's going to shut the door on Jean. The top 3 are sorted, although Porter has got past Oliver Hodgson. So Porter through to 2nd. Porter through to 2nd on Oliver Hodgson. Meanwhile, Sean Butcher's going to get a very brave lunge on the inside of Jean. That's not going to work out in his favour. But for Louis Westover, the timing could not be more perfect. And I think we've lost another one off on that far side of the circuit. But the checkered flag is going to fly. It's a brilliant victory for Louis Westover. What a start to the day. Porter is 2nd from Hodgson. And in 4th is Harvey in front of Zeta, Pendlebury and Ushijima ahead of Teddy Pritchard-Williams. Up to 8th place from 16th. Max Jean and Sean Butcher in the top 10. Matt Armstrong and Axel Laflamme work their magic just outside the top 10 from Ollie Greetham and the very feisty Caroline Gandas, the French lady, 14th place ahead of Alex Lloyd. Then Rory Hudson, Roman LaRue and Rufus Hunt from Eduardo Cosseteng, Abigail Ross, Alexander Patterson and Lee Chamberlain. Then Cameron Coombs and Archie Tillett. A really strong battle. The one retiree being Callum Driscoll after his off at the 3rd corner. He's now being recovered. The 3rd lap, I should say, sorry. But Westover, Porter and Hodgson. 3 different drivers, 3 different teams in the top 3. A really exciting battle, and we're just getting started in Senior X30 today.
There is no terrible way to win. There is only winning.
Let me drive. I will make a fool out of you. Every one of us has to find a reason to do this. You do it because you're driven.
I was beginning to think I'd never be anything more than a piston-happy lead-foot punk. Then this starts to happen.
Somebody put it in your mind you gotta be perfect every time out or you're a failure. Well, forget that. Just forget it.
You ready to put away your toys and grow up? Are you ready to make more money in 1 year than your father made in his whole life? Are you ready to become a real race car driver?
When I won it was probably the last time I ever felt pure victory.
Because I'm quicker than all of you.
And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.
But hell, isn't that what we're in this for? To stare death in the face and to cheat it? Come on, there's nobility in that. It's like being knights.
No pressure, nobody breathing down my back, just driving because I left it pure.
A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing's important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
I just hope when you do, that I'm there to see it.
Racing. That's the name of the game, isn't it? Win or lose, put up a shot.
Fine. Then let's race.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingram and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jake Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
For the next Senior X30 race, the battle is very intense already. We saw from that previous race that the action is just going to keep on building as the day continues. Westover taking a Senior X30 heat victory from Morgan Porter and Oliver Hodgson, Elliot Harvey and Matthias Zagazeta from Alex Pendlebury, and then Reese Ushijima, Teddy Pritchard-Williams, Max Jean and Sean Butcher in the top 10. We are live trackside here at the PF International Circuit, run by Trent Valley Kart Club here at near Grantham in Lincolnshire. And of course, we're here for the Motorsport UK British Kart Championships, the 2019 season commencement for the IAME classes. Jake Sanson here, up on the starting gantry, essentially, in my commentary box position, overlooking the start-finish straight. Hello to everybody trackside and to those listening, wherever you may be around the world. We know there's various people who tuned in yesterday from goodness knows how many different regions that wanted to catch up with the action from the Motorsport UK British Kart Championships. Over 500 listeners just in the course of yesterday, would you believe, listening in from various different places around the world, including the United States, Japan, Korea, Canada, Italy, France, Australia, Germany. They were all listening in. They all wanted to find out what was happening in the British Kart Championships. Great to see a worldwide presence for this amazing event, and good to see that the weather's actually holding off as well. We weren't sure if there was going to be any rain falling over the course of the day. The Met Office is keeping me well abreast of what happens if there are any changes in conditions. So far, though, it's cloudy. It's a little bit damp and humid, but it's not exactly wet, so we're not going to get any rainfall over the course of the day. And it looks to me as though, according to the forecast I've got in front of me, if it was going to rain today, it would already have happened, and it hasn't done so. So it looks as though it's going to be dry all the way through the rest of the day. It will, however, be cold and a little bit chilly and breezy, and that means greasy out on the circuit. So that's going to make things particularly exciting as the race day continues. We're getting ready for race 25 of the weekend, which is heat number 6 for the Senior X30s, and what a grid it's going to be. The drivers will be waved out onto the circuit very shortly as the battle will continue in much hectic gusto in this Senior X30 field. The green flag flies and the drivers will head out onto the circuit for another intense battle around the circuit. We saw a cracker from Senior X30 just then. Looks as though we're going to do it all again with this grid. Gus Lawrence alongside Lewis Malin on the front row of the grid. Thomas Turner and Luke Whitehead on the second row. Derek Morgan and Matthew Hudson. Then Clayton Ravenscroft alongside Mark Kimber. Oh, we've had a moment coming out of the pits for Tom Nippers. He then gets going, but unfortunately will join up at the back of the grid regardless. So continuing on, it's Lawrence and Malin, Turner and Whitehead, Morgan, Hudson, Ravenscroft and Kimber. Then it is Cole Kilner and Nelson King. From Callum Barnett and Jensen Brown, Ben Hodge and Henry Ayers. Then it's Alexander Wang from Singapore and Charles Lamb. The Swedish lady Matilda Olsen alongside Thomas Wood. Harry Barlow is beside the Frenchman Louis Maurice. Ryan Green and Jack Gordon. Then Josh Graham, Piers Henderson and Tom Nippers. A truly intercontinental field around this PF International circuit from all across Europe and even into Asia as well. There's plenty of great drivers who continuously come over to the British Kart Championships. You've only got to look at history to tell you that the amount of drivers that cut their teeth in the British karting world will go on to massive accolade in the world of motorsport. You've only got to look through the rich history of the British Kart Championships. The likes of Lewis Hamilton, Jenson Button, Dan Weldon, Dario Franchitti, David Coulthard. All of these amazing names have come through the British Kart Championships through the decades and are now worldwide stars. Everyone on this grid is hoping to join that list. So, it's Lawrence, Malin, Turner, Whitehead, Morgan, Hudson, Ravenscroft, Kimber. Lights out, let's race. A charge down to the first corner, and Turner comes right across and tucks in on Lewis Malin. Malin has to get on the brakes very sharpish, and that's going to drop him down into 4th position. Not the greatest of starts for Lewis Malin, but up through comes Lawrence in front of Thomas Turner, the O-plate, squeaking his way through into 2nd place, and that is Derek Morgan charging his way through to 3rd in front of Malin, Ravenscroft, and Whitehead. Up the inside, Turner's going for the lead already. Lawrence is holding him off, and Morgan's going to get thrown to the lead as a result. Lawrence is going to keep on the power. A little bit of a tussle between the two of them as they come through to the second chicane. Watch for Malin. He's going to get on the inside of Thomas Turner now. Ravenscroft to the left side of Whitehead. He's going to charge through to 5th. Make that 4th as he holds onto the inside of Malin. Brilliant squabble on the first lap. All triggered essentially by Turner making his bid to get past Gus Lawrence. They banged wheels and drifted out wide, but Lawrence hangs on to the lead. Morgan now up to 2nd place. So Derek Morgan making his bid to go for the lead now in 2nd position. 3rd is the O-plate, Thomas Turner. No, it's Malin. It's Malin in 3rd, in fact. Then Ravenscroft, Kilner, Thomas Turner, then Kimber, Matthew Hudson, Whitehead down to 9th, and Callum Barnett, the Isle of Man racer, is there in 10th position from Hodge, King, Wang, Brown, Olsen, Lamb, Wood, Ayers, Green, Henderson, Louis Maurice, Jack Gordon, then Nippers, Graham and Harry Barlow. So they go through. Ravenscroft up to 3rd place now, having made his bid on Lewis Malin. A good jostle for position in the mid-pack. Still some good overtaking moves coming through. But out in front it is Gus Lawrence from Derek Morgan. Then Ravenscroft, Lewis Malin and Cole Kilner in front of Kimber, Turner. Here comes Whitehead up the inside line. A beautiful bold lunge on the inside of Matthew Hudson from Luke Whitehead. Threading the eye of the needle of 50 kilometers an hour through that turn. It's a very tricky corner, but he's managed to get there despite putting 2 wheels on the inside curb. That's absolutely textbook. So Lawrence leading Derek Morgan. Gus Lawrence leads the race in front of Derek Morgan in 2nd place as they go flying under the Litchfield Bridge once again. Round the top curb, round the hairpin and up towards turn 4. They squeak into the inside, square left, over the bridge, square right, down the back straight again. And a really exciting run from the drivers as they continue their progress down the back straight and into the first hairpin. Through the right, back on the power, up towards the 2nd hairpin. Is there going to be a strong run from the drivers once more? Onto this back straight. In through to the chicane and a spin. That is Louis Maurice. Louis Maurice, the Frenchman, spins out of the first hairpin. Oh, what a shame. He had a really good run up until that point, but unfortunately, Louis Maurice just run out of road, unfortunately, there. Whether he was assisted or did that on his own is unclear. I didn't spot that one, unfortunately, but only the aftermath. So down the main straight, Gus Lawrence, Morgan, Ravenscroft, and the 5 of Lewis Malin. Then Kimber, who's moved up past Cole Kilner. And then it is Thomas Turner in front of Luke Whitehead, Matthew Hudson, Nelson King, and Alex Wang. From Jensen Brown, Charlie Lamb, Ben Hodge, Matilda Olsen, Callum Barnett, Piers Henderson, Henry Ayres, and Thomas Wood. And then we see Jack Gordon from Nippers, Green, Graham Barlow, and having made his recovery bid now, the Frenchman Louis Maurice. And still, the drivers battle away at the front end of the field. It's going to be Morgan side by side with Malin. Ravenscroft gets up the inside, so does Kimber, so does Kilner. And Thomas Turner's going to get through on the inside. Is he? No, he doesn't. He has to hang back. And that's all good news for Gus Lawrence, who's now got a big lead over Morgan. So it's now Lawrence, Morgan, and Ravenscroft as they battle away for position. Trying to make another bid. Ravenscroft will now need to work with Derek Morgan to get that gap down to Gus Lawrence up front. They're running out of time, just a whisker over 4 minutes, plus the additional lap. As Ravenscroft charges his way through the chicane, under the Litchfield Bridge, and round the sweeping hairpin once again. Keeping back on the power. Back up towards the bridge, is up the inside. That's a very late challenge from Kilner on Mark Kimber. And Ravenscroft makes the move on Derek Morgan out of the bridge, up towards the back straight. Morgan's still fighting with him as a big challenge from Kilner. Diving up the inside comes Kimber on Morgan. Kimber gets through into third place. Morgan tries to resist Kilner, and here comes Lewis Malin trying to make his bid. Morgan drifts out in towards Kilner. Malin tries to get up the inside, doesn't manage it. Luke Whitehead's to the left of all of them. Oh, the spin! That's Kilner! Kilner spins right in front of Thomas Turner. How on earth did the O-plate miss him? That was incredibly quick reactions from Thomas Turner, but Kilner loses the kart. Now that one is almost certainly going to be looked at again. I'm not sure if it was contact that enabled the move and spun Kilner around, but we'll have to double check it. So Kilner down the order, unfortunately, rejoining in about 17th, 18th place, I think. 18th in the end. So Lawrence is your leader, then Ravenscroft, Kimber. Fourth is Derek Morgan now in front of Lewis Malin. Then it's Luke Whitehead. Good recovery drive to bring him back up the order. Matthew Hudson in front of Thomas Turner. Then it is Alex Wang, Charlie Lamb, although it might not be for long, as up the inside comes Nelson King. Nelson King gets the move. Jensen Brown trying to repeat the feat. Round to the right side he goes, trying to bring the kart right round the outside hairpin. Running out of road, but keeping his foot planted to the floor. And there may be a chance into the chicane. Not if Charlie Lamb's got anything to say about it, though. He shuts it down nice and early into the apex. So Lawrence, Ravenscroft, and Kimber are the top three at this point. A really exciting battle. Some fantastic opportunities for the drivers. They continue to charge down the main straight. And still, there will be plenty of action from them. They want to keep this battle sky high and solid as rock. And so they continue to fight forwards with gusto. And down over the Litchfield Bridge once again. Onto the back straight. Gus Lawrence still leads the way from Ravenscroft and Kimber. Derek Morgan and Malin. Then it's Whitehead. Down through to the hairpin. Back on the power again. And into the hairpin once more. Here goes the move from the inside of Lewis Malin. Malin dives on the inside of Morgan and gets through. That's P4. So Malin does get through in the end from Derek Morgan. Whitehead is going to close them down as a result. But what a sensational battle this is turning into. Yet again, we have the opportunity to see a real rip-roaring fight as the drivers continue to charge forwards. Some sensational battles in this field. They've had an absolutely terrific run. And across the line, it is still Lawrence from Ravenscroft and Kimber. Malin now in front of Morgan, as we mentioned. Whitehead. Then in 7th and 8th, it is Hudson and Turner. Alex Wang up to 9th in front of Nelson King. Then Lamb, Hodge, Brown, Barnett, Olsen, Ayres, Kilner, Henderson, Gordon, Wood, and Harry Barlow in front of Ryan Green, Tom Nippers, and Josh Graham. Try as he might, Louis Maurice, the Frenchman, is not giving up despite his previous spin. So, a very close fight in the mid-pack. 4th and 5th and 6th, still very tight. A few overtaking moves further back. A bit of a fisticuff match there at the first hairpin as trying to make a move on the inside line there. That was the 62 of Thomas Wood trying to crack Jack Gordon. Didn't quite work out. So now they come through on the sharp end, up to the far end of the course. And up towards the Mike Wilson complex, into the final chicane. Lawrence going well. A warning flag comes out for the 62. That is obviously Thomas Wood for that incident earlier on. And in the final few seconds of the race, we go into the penultimate lap. So Lewis Malin still hanging on to 4th place in front of Derek Morgan and Luke Whitehead. But Ravenscroft and Kimber are now having to join forces to get that gap to Lawrence down further from 0.6 of a second. They've done a good job of it so far. Lawrence has done a 58.04. Ravenscroft a 57.9. Kimber a 57.8. So they're closing up the gap. Down through the hairpin. Back on the short stretch towards the second left hairpin. Now they're back on the power. Running the curbs beautifully. Hugging the inside apex for the next S's. Ravenscroft and Kimber nose to tail with half a second to make up on Gus Lawrence with a lap and a half to go. I'm not sure they're going to make it for this particular heat, but there's still plenty of time to run over the course of the day. So they run through on the far side into the S's, left, right, and onto the home straight. Last lap board comes out. This is going to be mega. Can they catch Gus Lawrence in the first heat of the day? Through the S's, they sweep through under the Litchfield Bridge, and I just think Gus Lawrence is too far ahead. I'm not sure they can catch him. It looks as though second is all they're in the bid for. 4th place, though, Lewis Malin under some massive pressure from Luke Whitehead. Derek Morgan is 6th from Thomas Turner as they drop off down the back straight. Ravenscroft and Kimber haven't given up yet. They're still trying. Ravenscroft running very deep into the first hairpin in the bid to make up the ground. He's trying everything, absolutely everything. And Kimber's dived through on the inside of Ravenscroft. A very late lunge into the second hairpin. So Kimber gets her in a second, moves across, stopping Ravenscroft from coming through. Ravenscroft wants to now take him. He's dialed up and he's angry. He makes the dive into Bobby Game corner of a second and he's through. Nothing Kimber can do can stop him. So Gus Lawrence is going to take the win, but Ravenscroft fights back to second. Checkered flag flies, and it's Gus Lawrence who wins the first race of the day. Second for Ravenscroft, third for Kimber. Then it is Malin in front of a very impressive Luke Whitehead, fighting his way back to 5th place. Morgan, Thomas Turner, Matthew Hudson and Nelson King, with Charlie Lamb breaking into the top 10, ahead of Alex Wang and Ben Hodge, Jensen Brown, Callum Barnett and Matilda Olsen. And then we have Cole Kilner in front of Henry Ayres, Jack Gordon and Piers Henderson. My apologies. So it's going to be really exciting for Thomas Wood and Tom Nippers, Ryan Green, Josh Graham, Harry Barlow, and the Frenchman after his earlier spin, Louis Maurice, able to get more track time in the end. But essentially that race turned into a test session. But what a sensational battle it is going to turn into in Senior X30 today. That is the second heat of the day from them. And obviously that gives us a little bit of an opportunity for a breather before we move into the next heat of the day, which is Mini X30. Now, Mini X30 has been incredibly intensive ever since the start of yesterday's action. We've had pretty much 6 to 7 drivers in the mix all the way through the weekend. They've never really been outside the top 7 places either. And in earlier qualifying, it was Olivier Algieri who popped up to the pole spot for the Croc Promotions team. He's done an amazing job with this kart, actually, on the Mad Croc chassis. And fair play to get him up to the top end. But Ed Pearson was very strong in qualifying earlier as well, which is impressive when you consider that none of the 3 drivers that ended up on the final podium at the end of day's action yesterday, Alfie Rigby, Oliver Greenall, and Theo Makuris, none of them, my apologies, it was Alfie Rigby, Luke Watts, and Theo Makuris. Apologies, Luke. Those 3 are not in the top 2 positions for the starting grid of the first Mini X30 race and will have to start from 3rd position or lower. So it's a very intense battle that we've got, and it just proves what a few clouds over the PF International Circuit can really do. It was bright and clear yesterday, freezing as heck, but it was clear and bright blue skies with sunshine over the top of the circuit. Now we've got the clouds come in. It's changed the conditions of the circuit completely. So the setup that they had yesterday clearly is different now to get the most out of the kart. And it really does show you and give you an indication of just how different the weather conditions can make the circuit. So we'll have to see what the drivers can come up with. But it is very, very intensive up at the front end of Mini X30. That is for sure. And we're going to see some brilliant racing from them as the battles continue. So the grid is going to be formed up again, and in a little under a minute's time, they will be sent out onto the PF International Circuit once more, with the Mini X30 race about to be the next course of action. Olivier Algieri bagging a pole position time of 60.80. Not the fastest lap we've had in the entire meeting from Mini X30, although none of them have been able to get up to the same speed that they got in Friday practice, which is not exactly surprising because they've had shorter sessions than the practice session was able to deliver. And the fastest driver of the entire meeting is actually Jessica Edgar. Her fastest lap in the Friday practice session, the fourth session, has not even been matched by anybody over the course of yesterday. And considering how cool the conditions are and how intense the racing is, it's unlikely to go that way again today. So the drivers are going to be in position and they will be waved out from the starting gantry. We wait for the all clear, which we get around the circuit. The green flag flies at the top of the gantry and we're ready to go racing again in Mini X30. This is a very exciting class. Lots of drivers bidding for the victory and many of them have a great chance to get there. So here's your starting grid. Olivier Algieri and Edward Pearson, Thea Makuris and Luke Watts, Oliver Greenall and Alfie Rigby, Jessica Edgar and Marcus Luzio from Ian Aguilera and Alexander Renner, Bart Harrison, Daniel Bolton and Evan Brown. Then it is Aidan Line and JJ Russell from Antonis Sofronio, with Gabriel Stilp and Ashton Parsons rounding out the grid. So they get themselves up to speed again. Tyres and brakes. Obviously getting themselves up to temperature as much as they possibly can. But this is going to be a tricky one for Olivier Algieri. From the pole position spot in this competitive field, it's going to be extremely exciting. So let's see what happens. They're going to come through the chicane and they will get themselves back up to speed and they will dial up the straight once more. So it is going to be a really exciting battle as they come through the final few corners of the lap. But now we are going to be absolutely inundated with overtakes galore and incredibly intense battles at the front because things have been very close in Mini X30 all weekend. They come off the chicane, in through the left and in through the right. They will come onto the main straight once again, and this is going to be a tough battle. Algieri, Pearson, Makuris, Watts, Greenall, Rigby, Edgar and Luzio. The lights go out. It's a clean start again, and we're racing. Charging up to the first chicane. It's going to be the right side that gets the jump. So Algieri and Makuris manage to fight their way past Pearson. And as they go up under the Litchfield Bridge, they go round the long flowing hairpin. It is a clean start throughout. Nobody is being spat out to the scenery. So they've all jostled for position fairly cleanly. They come off the Litchfield Bridge and Pearson's still right behind Makuris in the battle for second place. Good start from Oliver Greenall up into fourth place. Round the outside, that's a very bold lunge around Luke Watts from Alfie Rigby. He's going to run out of road, so he tucks back in. Then Jessica Edgar seventh from Ian Aguilera and Bart Harrison. Down to the hairpin, through the second hairpin, the left-hander. Then down the short squirt towards the chicane. Left and right, over the curbs. Makuris has tagged right onto the back of Olivier Algieri, who's doing an amazing job. Great to see Algieri working his magic up at the front end. And as they go through the hairpin, back onto the left, the end of the Mike Wilson complex, they come into the chicane, and Algieri and Makuris have broken a few kart lengths away, but that's not going to last long with the pace that Oliver Greenall now has, having moved into third place past Pearson. Then it's Watts, Rigby, Edgar, Aguilera, Harrison, Luzio, Bolton, Sofronio, Line, Brown, Renner, Stilp, Russell and Parsons. And up the inside comes Greenall for second, makes the move on Makuris into turn 4. They go over the bridge, through the square right, and that's Greenall into second. Oh, contact between Rigby and Watts! Rigby and Watts come together at the fifth corner. They both recover, but they've both lost a massive quantity of time. So that's Rigby down to 7th. It's Edgar and Aguilera who have gone through. For Watts, it's cost him even more time. He's 3 places further back as Rigby recovers back on the inside of Aguilera. But a big problem for Luke Watts as he now finds himself stuck behind Bart Harrison and in front of Antonis Sofronio. So Watts and Rigby are both going to have very differing versions of that particular incident. They come through the S's and up towards the Mike Wilson complex again into the final chicane, left and right onto the main straight. And out in front it is Greenall. Greenall has charged his way through past Makuris. Having gone into second, he now gets past Makuris. Algieri, unfortunately, has dropped to third position on that lap, having worked very hard. There's a warning flag gone out, and that's for Alfie Rigby. So that's who the officials thought was at fault for that manoeuvre. Up the inside, that's Jessica Edgar making the move on Ed Pearson, and she's into fourth place. Yet again, Jessica Edgar doing a fine job. Now she's making the bid for Olivier Algieri already into the first hairpin down the back straight. And she's there. This girl's got so much confidence now. Jessica Edgar is genuinely a championship protagonist in Mini X30 in the British Championships, and she could go all the way and emulate the double British champion Abby Pulling, who's done so over the last 2 years in junior TKM, moved into cars now, but I think the mantle for top woman in the British Kart Championships could be picked up by Jessica Edgar. So they come through out of the Mike Wilson complex. It's Greenell in front of Makuris, then Jess Edgar, a few kart lengths back, but with plenty of time to catch the guys up front. Olivia Algieri is fourth in front of Pearson, then it's Rigby in front of the 79 of Ian Aguilera. Then Lucio, Bolton, Harrison, Luke Watts from Sofrono, Stilp, Renner, Brown, Russell, Line and Parsons. Fastest lap of the race, not particularly surprising, Jessica Edgar. She's the fastest driver of the whole meeting. And she's up to third place. Algieri and Rigby run a little bit deep off the turn, but they carry the speed. Rigby's going to get up the inside and moves up into fifth place. On the inside of Algieri, the door's still wide open for the Mexican, Ian Aguilera. But Algieri is trying desperately to resist. Up the inside again for the next hairpin, and Algieri slots the car back up the inside. Aguilera gets back on the power to get the undercut, but Algieri's got the pace. And Marcus Lizio now trying to tag onto the back of them. The two leaders are still nose to tail. Oliver Greenell and Theo Makuris. Makuris just riding on the bumper of Oliver Greenell very nearly. That's how close they are at the moment. But Jess Edgar has dropped Pearson and Rigby, and he's now charging onto the back. I didn't think it would be long before she caught them. She's absolutely rapid through the first chicane. Up the inside goes Rigby. Dives through on Pearson. And that's up to fourth place for Rigby. So he's making a good fight back. Meanwhile, Edgar's got right onto the back of the leading pair. So it is Greenell and Makuris from Jessica Edgar. Up the inside, Makuris has taken the lead. Theo Makuris leads, and now Jessica Edgar is going to follow into second position, past her teammate Greenell. So Makuris leads the way. Jess Edgar's into second. Is she done yet? No, but Greenell's going to come through on the inside to grab second position back from his teammate. So, fourth position is now Rigby in front of Pearson. It's Theo Makuris who leads the way in front of Oliver Greenell and Jessica Edgar. She's a few kart lengths now in front of the fourth place battle. Alfie Rigby and Ed Pearson. They go through the Mike Wilson complex. No major changes from the leading three. Makuris in front of Greenell and Edgar. They come through onto the main straight once again and past my position. Edgar's got a good run. Greenell's got a stronger run. Trying to use it to get away from Makuris. But a neat move up the inside is all that's going to take. Rigby and Pearson are trying to work in unison with 2.5 on the clock. In the bid to come through, Greenell has a look at Theo Makuris, doesn't get the move done. And that's just put Jessica Edgar further onto the tail. Greenell's got a good run off the turn. Greenell's going to go through. So too is Jessica Edgar. Makuris has to let them both blend off the throttle and go through. But now Edgar is on the toe of Greenell. And now it's a five-way battle. They're jockeying for position. Has brought Rigby and Pearson into play on the back of Theo Makuris. Edgar now trying to get away with Oliver Greenell. But I think the five of them are going to be locked in this battle for the victory now. And it's so tight. Very closely competitive up at the front. A very tricky race for Luke Watts. He's fought his way back to 9th place behind Ian Aguilera, Marcus Lizio and Olivia Algieri, who has slipped to 8th place after originally bagging pole position. They come over the line. And the battle continues as they sweep through the chicane. But it's Greenell, Edgar, Makuris, Rigby, Pearson. Fastest lap of the race from Alfie Rigby, now in 4th place behind Theo Makuris. But it's Greenell, Edgar and Theo Makuris in the top 3. Rigby is 4th. Out the inside goes Makuris, makes the move on Jess Edgar. Rigby's going to get through as well and draws alongside Theo Makuris out of the braking zone. Pearson's gone with them. Rigby through to 2nd, Pearson through to 3rd. Rigby is through to P2 though, and Edgar has managed to break across on Theo Makuris. Makuris dives back on the inside of Jess Edgar. Edgar's got a great run off the hairpin, but Makuris is holding fast. Jessica Edgar will not be denied though, into 4th place at the S's. Brilliant determination from Jessica Edgar, holding on there to 4th position. Really good battling, and there's not a lot Theo Makuris has in response. They come through to the final chicane, left, right, and onto the main straight once again. Looking good as we go into the final 40 seconds of the race. 2 laps to go for Greenell. Edgar now down to 4th place. Alfie Rigby 2nd, Ed Pearson is 3rd. Edgar and Makuris are battling away for 4th, and it's Aguilera, Watts, Lizio, Algieri, and Dan Bolton in the top 10. They roll back on the back straight once again. Greenall, Rigby and Pearson, they've got a bit of breathing space between each other now. Edgar's desperately trying to catch up to Ed Pearson, and he's going to come from a long way back. As speaking of which, Luke Watts drifts through the first hairpin on the inside of Ian Aguilera, and Luke Watts puts himself now into P6, I think that is. A very good comeback drive from Luke Watts, as he now gets himself back into the top 6 once again. He's never really left it all weekend. He was second in the final yesterday, don't forget. So he's got a point to prove now that he's making his return to the top end. But some really cracking racing to come, as off we go again to the final lap. The last lap board is going to come out. But can Alfie Rigby get even close to Oliver Greenall in this heat? It seems unlikely. Third position, Pearson trying to hang on in front of Jess Edgar. Third position looks like all they can get from this one. And Edgar is working hard to get through into P3. They roll off the corner again. And off into the Litchfield Bridge. They tighten through in the right-hander, down the back straight. And this is going to be an amazing battle. Onto the far side. Tucking through at the first hairpin. Pearson still holding fast in front of Edgar. The win is going to be Greenall's. Second is going to be Rigby's. Third is still up for debate. They're holding each other up, and Makuris is now on the back of Edgar. Watts and Aguilera have come into the fight. 5 of them will squabble for third place. They go through the S's, up to the short squirt to Bobby Game corner. Pearson absolutely married to the inside apex. Watts trying to come through on Makuris as Edgar is impeded. Watts is up the inside of Makuris, going for 5th position. Watts is going to have to drift out wide, and that's enough, I think, for Aguilera to come through into 5th place. Yellow flag flies. Checkered flag flies on the way through the line. It's Greenall from Rigby. Third is going to be Pearson from Edgar and Ian Aguilera. It looks as though Theo Makuris and Luke Watts has had an incident. The pair of them have collided on the final corners. So Aguilera is 5th from Algerian 6th. Bolton 7th from Luzio. Harrison 10th is Makuris. Stilp is 11th from Renner. Then Brown, Line, Luke Watts is a very disappointed 15th after an amazing fight back. 16th place goes the way of JJ Russell in front of Antonis Sofronio and Ashton Parsons. Well, it's an amazing squabble, but a very bitter one for Luke Watts and Theo Makuris. Neither of them are going to be very happy at all with the way that race has ended. Luke Watts is carrying as much wide line as possible on his return. Oh, the kart is crabbing like crazy as well. It looks as though he's got some big damage to the kart. He brought it home, and Theo Makuris is absolutely cruising in. I think it's in protest that he's going so slowly. Well, a very bitter end for those two. Not for Greenall. He's back to winning ways again. He's made this place his home over the last 4 months in their Trent Valley Kart Club Winter Series. But he's done a very good job up until that point. And yesterday was a bit of a hiccup for him. It's the first time he didn't win a final at PF International this season. But there is an opportunity for him now to fight back. Having started his heats today with a win. And that's a perfect beginning for his race action. Rigby, Pearson and Jess Edgar from Ian Aguilera and Olivier Algieri. Then Dan Bolton, Marcus Luzio, Bart Harrison and Theo Makuris rounding out the top 10 from Stilp, Renner, Brown, Line, Luke Watts, JJ Russell, Antonio Sofronio and Ashton Parsons. Very exciting racing all the way through to the checkered flag. That's the way it's always been in British karting, and it's great that the Motorsport UK British Kart Championships is no exception in the IAME classes. We step up the game again as we move into the IAME Cadet, and it's going to be the second battle. It's going to be the second battle for IAME Cadet. They have 3 heats before we get to the repêchages later. But a very exciting battle in the offing for the IAME Cadets next up, as the drivers will obviously want a really exciting battle to continue on. And next up, as we said, is going to be the IAME Cadet race. It was a very exciting encounter earlier on. For those who have only just joined us on the Downforce radio stream, hello to all of you, wherever it is you're listening to from around the world. So many people listening in from all 6 parts of the globe. From the earlier race in IAME Cadet, it was a victory for Kian Nakamura Berta in front of Harley Keeble and Aidan Neat. That was our top 3 from earlier on. In the top 6, Harry Junior Burgoyne 4th from Vinnie Phillips, and the ever-impressive privateer Macaulay Bishop, who still punches well above his weight and does a fantastic job up in the sharp end of the field. I think everybody who champions the underdog has got right behind Macaulay Bishop in this British Kart Championship season. In only the second day of action, he's proved a point that you can run lad and dad at the front end of the field, and it's great to see him doing so. However, there is a very long path to the victory for all of the drivers in IAME Cadet, and this second heat is going to be a tough one, with pole position for this race going the way of Kian Nakamura-Berta after getting original pole position in qualifying. He's got a very tall order in front of him with plenty of race action, and it's going to be really exciting to see what he can do over the course of this weekend. There will be some amazing battles for all of the drivers, and they will obviously have some terrific action from the drivers over the course of the proceedings. So we'll see how the drivers get into this second heat. Kian Nakamura-Berta, the pole sitter, and the earlier heat winner, of course, alongside the man who won the final yesterday, Brandon Carr, on that front row of the grid. They make their way out onto the circuit, and it is going to be another tough rolling lap to get the karts up to brake temperature, heat temperature, tyre temperature. Everything's got to be just so before they fly their way around the circuit. And here is the grid. Kian Nakamura-Berta of Japan in front of Brandon Carr for Oliver Rowland Motorsport. Aidan Neate of Fusion, and then the Irishman Finn McLaughlin for Strawberry. Harry Junior Burgoyne, the Scotsman, is there alongside the Irish cadet champion Alex O'Grady. Archie Clark, former Bambino King, alongside the boxer Kai Bacchini. Lewis Werrell and Nathan Tye are on the next row of the grid, rounding out the top 10. Maximus Hall and Lewis Bird are on row 6 from Ella Stevens and Cahal Clark. Then it is Will Knight and Cian Geraghty, Hadi Mamasi and Dan Sofranea. Then Jack Cunningham and Eden Spanswick from George Edgar and Jack Mowat, with Sky Parker alone on the back of the grid. It looks as though Ewan Downing is not going to be competing. Not entirely sure what the reason for that is. Didn't see anything untoward at the end of yesterday. Was speaking to Ewan Downing over the course of yesterday's meeting. I wonder if he may have taken ill for this race, because he wasn't out for qualifying either. So it's a real shame if Ewan Downing is not going to be continuing on in the meeting. He did a fine job yesterday, considering it was his first attempt at the British Kart Championships, and we'll see a lot more from him as the season continues. However, Kian Nakamura-Berta and Brandon Carr will start this race from the front of the grid. Both winners this weekend. Nakamura-Berta in a heat, Brandon Carr in round 1, the final yesterday. Aidan Neate and Finn McLaughlin, Harry Junior Burgoyne and Alex O'Grady, Archie Clark and Kai Bacchini, Lewis Werrell and Nathan Tye. That's going to be a very tough battle to the first corner. They will line up in their tram lines up the corridor. Is this going to be a good run? It is. Perfect start, and away we go. And Kai Bacchini is the first one to pop up in the middle of the pack, but across into the first corner. It's an epic start from the inside line. Nakamura-Berta, Neate and Burgoyne all get the jump on Brandon Carr as they go through for the first couple of corners. And a big tussle on the way through the first end of the grid as Alex O'Grady makes a good move on the inside of Maximus Hall in the mid-pack. And there's a spin. There's a spin on the way through turn 4. I didn't make out who it was, but it looks to me as though it's one of the Oliver Rowland Motorsport karts. No, unfortunately, that is a very irate Kai Bacchini. Kai Bacchini pitched into a spin, it looks like. He certainly believes so. As the field jostles its way through at the back of the pack, it's a proper squabble for second place. Nakamura-Berta leads the race from Neate. Then it is Carr in front of Finn McLaughlin and Harry Junior Burgoyne. Archie Clark's made a terrific start as he makes his way through in front of Maximus Hall. Then it is Alex O'Grady running a little bit deep, and then battling away there, Ella Stevens appears to have made a move or two, as Kai Bacchini has obviously got a left hook or two, and he'll want an uppercut in response as he makes his way back to the tail of the pack. But out of the final turn, Kian Nakamura-Berta leads the way, and Aidan Neate has slipped down into 4th position. Brandon Carr and Harry Junior Burgoyne have both gone through on that lap. Maximus Hall has come up past Finn McLaughlin, as too has Alex O'Grady. Archie Clark is 8th, then Nathan Tye, Lewis Werrell, then Bird, Stevens, Cahal Clark, Will Knight, Dan Sofranea, then Cian Geraghty from Spanswick, Parker, Edgar, Mowat, Cunningham and Bacchini, with 2 drivers out of the race, and they're both from the same team, Evolve Motorsports drivers. It looks as though Hadi Mamasi has ended up off the circuit. I can't see where he is now, but he certainly started the race, but apparently he is out of it now. A real shame, and Evolve Motorsports race ends ridiculously quickly, although Cian Geraghty is still representing them. So out in front, it's Nakamura-Berta, then Carr and Burgoyne, Aidan Neate and Maximus Hall. 6th place, Archie Clark. Nathan Tye's made a move or two. He's now at the 7th place as Sky Parker gets a good run on the inside there of Eden Spanswick and moves up into the chicane. Her win in the repechage yesterday really has done her confidence the power of good. So they come through on the far side again. And it's Kian Nakamura-Berta jogging on in front. He's getting back to his winning ways that he demonstrated in the Winter Series here at PF International over the last 4 months. He was the IAME and Honda Cadet champion in that club meeting, in that club series. But with the venue being the same, the British Kart Championships, the pressure added into that obviously makes it a lot tougher. As up the inside for third position, for second position goes Aidan Neate. He gets Carr and Burgoyne in one fell swoop. Brilliant move from Aidan Neate. He carried the pace, braked late, chocked the kart into the inside line, and there's nothing either of them could do about it. Now Burgoyne is going to make the move on his inside line to his teammate Brandon Carr as Maximus Hall tags onto the back of them. The Gladiator is back for more. Archie Clark is next up. Then it's Nathan Tye and Lewis Werrell. Down to the hairpin. Finn McLaughlin is still in the mix. Then it's Ella Stevens in front of Alex O'Grady. She's running very well today. Cahal Clark is still in the mix as well. And then it is Will Knight in front of Lewis Bird. Some good moves through the pack. That is Geraghty getting up the inside of Dan Sofronia. And Sky Parker is absolutely charging to the back of them. And it looks like a spin. Oh, and there's a roll. There's a roll. Now that's going to be a red flag. That's going to be a red flag almost certainly as the kart rolls there. Up at the first part, that was a very nasty accident, and the kart is upside down in the middle of the racetrack. A very bad accident there. It looks like we're going to go to Battenberg's, in fact, because the driver has been able to get across the circuit unaided, so that is good. But we are going to go to cautions. Battenberg, that was a very bad incident. Now that's going to be, that was Eden Spanswick losing the kart, and unfortunately Jack Cunningham was completely unsighted, didn't have a chance to get out of the way. So we're under Battenberg's. But that was a very nasty crash. That was at the S's. Basically, Spanswick trying to get himself back up to speed again. And the kart rolling over. The team is there making sure that Jack Cunningham is okay. He managed to move himself out of harm's way. The adrenaline clearly pumping. And I can tell you that Eden Spanswick is okay as well. He's walked away from the incident. We're under Battenberg's and under caution here. As the drivers are obviously now under full caution. They have to run in formation. That's not good news for Kia Nakamura-Berta. He had a bit of a lead over Burgoyne and Carr. But as a result of that little incident further back, that was a nasty roll for Jack Cunningham. But he is being attended to by the officials, which is the important thing. The team here, the safety crew, are very, very impressive and do an amazing job. And now we've got the red flags. Red flags are being called around the circuit. We've got red lights around the racetrack. So red flags are called. I did think that was a fairly nasty impact, and that was set to be a race stoppage. So that's obviously for safety reasons. Obviously, we have to make sure that obviously the correct safety protocols and procedures are maintained. So it has to come first before anything else. So the drivers are going to be brought onto the main starting line with 3 minutes and 12 to go. If we can get the race restarted, then obviously the race can continue. But red flags are out due to an incident between Eden Spanswick and Jack Cunningham. Let's keep calm about this, though, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, racing is a very tough discipline. The drivers know what risks they take when they get into the karts. And obviously, the team are very well versed at these incidents. So we need to make sure that safety protocol is adhered to. The team here at Trent Valley Kart Club and the medics are obviously very well versed. They know how to get this job done. They are very well practiced at looking after the drivers. So we need to let them do their job now, and we will allow them to do so. The drivers have come to a stop on the main straight, and they are out of their karts, no doubt having a quick debrief. And we will get racing again as soon as we possibly can. But for safety precautions, the race has been given a temporary pause. So we will update you when we have an idea as to when we're going to go racing again. But for the moment, we are under red flags due to an incident between Eden Spanswick and Jack Cunningham. Both drivers are being spoken to by the medics at the moment. They're in good hands, and they will be well attended to. So let's just let the safety team and the protocols be carried out, and we'll return to racing when we need to.
Come so far, my eyes can barely take in the scene. So many times I could have given in and taken the familiar road. We've run through the desert sands and taken steps upon the borderlands. Yeah, yeah. desert sands and taking steps upon the borderlands. Yeah, yeah. I couldn't have imagined this. The things I thought protected me, they only served to hem me in. Oh, the hands they told me to hold on to just pull me further away. We've run through the desert sands and taken steps upon the borderlands. Yeah, yeah. I couldn't have imagined this. We've run through the desert sands and taken steps upon the borderlands. Yeah, yeah. I couldn't have imagined this. When the rain comes down on the shifting ground, there's nothing left to hold. A life so unpredictable. When the rain comes down on the shifting ground, there's nothing left to hold. A life so unpredictable.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingram and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jake Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Not far away from a restart here at PF International, as the race is going to continue on in IAME Cadet after a red flag stoppage for an incident involving Eden Spanswick and Jack Cunningham. The race is going to be restarted. There will be 3 minutes and 12 seconds left. The field will complete a full rolling lap of the circuit, and then they will form up as they would do normally in single file formation, and they will fly down to the first corner once again. So that is how the starting procedure will continue. The race will continue on as it was at the stoppage in the order that they were when the red flags flew. So it'll be Keen Nakamura Berta in front of Harry Jr. Burgoyne from Brandon Carr and Aidan Neat. Maximus Hall in fifth ahead of Archie Clark from Nathan Tye and Lewis Werrell. Then Finn McLaughlin and Alex O'Grady. Cahal Clark and William Knight from Ella Stevens and Lewis Bird. Kian Geraghty, Dan Sofronea, Sky Parker, George Edgar, Kai Bacchini and Jack Moat will be the order. So for a handful of people, it's very good news, particularly the likes of Kai Bacchini, who had the incident earlier on and can now get back into the flow of the field. For Kian Nakamura Berta, it's not so great. He had a decent lead and is now going to have to continue on with no lead at all. So the drivers are sent out around on their formation lap once again. They basically just have to do a lap in formation, and it will be single file as they come to the race start. But the good news is that the two drivers involved in the earlier incident, Eden Spanswick and Jack Cunningham, are being well looked after by the medical teams. If we get any information that becomes relevant, then we will reveal it. But at the moment, there is no need to, as Maximus Hall has a little bit of a moment under on the top of the flyover. He spins it up at turn 4. He manages to get the kart going again, but now he needs to get himself back into 5th position in the road, because he has got the kart going again before the field has all gone around. So he needs to get himself back into P5, does Maximus Hall. And he should fairly quickly do that. Although, where has he rejoined? He's rejoined just in front of Lewis Bird, who is in behind Ella Stevens on the grid. So let's see what Maximus Hall does. Yep, he's going to take up his position back again in P5. But obviously it's going to be a very tough race from here on in for Maximus Hall, as he will slot into P5 between Aidan Neate and Archie Clark. But it's Kian Nakamura-Berta, the Japanese driver, who will run at the front from Harry Junior Burgoyne and Brandon Carr. Then Aidan Neate and Maximus Hall from Clark, Ty, Werrell, McLaughlin, O'Grady, Cahal Clark, Will Knight, Ella Stevens, Lewis Bird and Cian Geraghty from Sofronia, Parker, Edgar, Bacchini and Moat. They're going to get a decent start, and it's going to be a cracker. Green flags fly, and we're array and racing straight away as Kai Bacchini already starts to set off on the drivers in front and has already made a bid to get past Hadi Mamasi, who has joined late. So Hadi Mamasi joins the field late, 2 laps down, but continues regardless. So down the back straight goes Kian Nakamura-Berta in front of Harry Junior Burgoyne. And Junior Burgoyne has tagged onto the back of Kian Nakamura-Berta instantly, trying to come right round the outside of the Japanese to take the lead. That would be brave. He hasn't quite got the room to make it stick, but he's going to get back on terms with Kian Nakamura-Berta. Down the brakes into the next corner, and up the inside comes Brandon Carr. Right round the outside sweeps Aidan Neate. Aidan Neate gets into 3rd position. Now jumps across on the inside of Harry Junior Burgoyne. Aidan Neate runs out of opportunity as Junior Burgoyne squeezes him nicely on the way through to the inside line. So Aidan Neate has to try another trick to make his move into 2nd place, and it allows Kian Nakamura-Berta a chance to cut away for the lead. So they come off the turn once again, battling for 3rd position. Aidan Neate with Brandon Carr and Maximus Hall as they challenge away for the top 5. The rest of the field now tucked in behind. Lewis Werrell having made his way through to 6th place in front of Archie Clark and Finn McLaughlin. Then it's Alex O'Grady and Ella Stevens. A warning flag goes out, and it's for Kian Nakamura-Berta. The race leader has been given a warning flag as Aidan Neate now gets his way into 2nd place and moves up into P2 in front of Harry Junior Burgoyne through turn 3. He has made the move stick, and into 2nd position he goes. Harry Junior Burgoyne's going to come straight back at him. Up to the inside line. Aidan Neate's not allowing him too much space, but Harry Junior Burgoyne runs through. Brandon Carr through into 3rd position. Not a lot of space between the two of them. As up the inside comes Aidan Neate. Maximus Hall's got a chance to squeeze it to 4th. He's got it. Maximus Hall into P4 this time. Great racing and a great bit of battling. They're only going to get 2 more laps of this, so they need to make it count. Through to the far side, through that screaming right-hander. A really good battle as the drivers continue to challenge forward. And they will tuck on round the far side into the chicane. Left, right for Kian Nakamura-Berta. He leads the race. Up into 2nd place again has come Harry Junior Burgoyne. Aidan Neate is down to 3rd. Then it is the 6th of Maximus Hall in front of Brandon Carr, Lewis Werrell, Archie Clark. Then it is Finn McLaughlin, Alex O'Grady and Ella Stevens. And then it is Nathan Tye from Lewis Bird, Will Knight and Cathal Clark. 2 laps to go. They come through once again onto the back straight. Kian Nakamura-Berta with plenty of space to Harry Junior Burgoyne and Aidan Neate. Maximus Hall still on the inside of Brandon Carr. Holds 4th position for the moment. 6th place for Werrell. Then it is Archie Clark in front of Finn McLaughlin. A long way back to Alex O'Grady as Will Knight makes his move up the inside. At the hairpin has got on the inside of Lewis Bird and Cahal Clark. So a nice move there from Will Knight as he gets himself into a decent position onto the back of Ella Stevens. Kai Bacchini's going through the field like wildfire. He's just pulled off a move on Dan Sofronia, having taken on Parker, Edgar and Jack Moat. So Bacchini working hard to make up the ground lost earlier on. But the checkered flag is just 1 lap away as they come through to the final lap now. And it's Kian Nakamura-Berta who leads the race in front of Harry Junior Burgoyne. The gap is 0.7 of a second between them. Can the Scotsman chase down the Japanese? Last lap. And across the line, he's definitely got the gap down to 0.4 of a second, but is it going to be enough to catch him? Aidan Neate is third with the fastest lap of the race too. He will try his best to help get Harry Junior Burgoyne further up the road, because there's still a chance he could win, as Maximus Hall hangs on to 4th position up the inside of Brandon Carr. Maximus Hall gets back into that 4th place he held briefly. Now he's back there once again. Watch to the left side. Lewis Werrell's going to take on both Hall and Carr down to the braking zone. Neate has gone for 2nd place. I think he's realised that they're too far back from Kian Nakamura Berta to go for the win. So he's gone for 2nd place, and he's holding on in front of the Scotsman, Harry Junior Burgoyne, who tucks back onto the inside line, runs side by side with Aidan Neate. Harry Junior Burgoyne is absolutely determined to get through on the inside. Aidan Neate holds it round the outside. They bang wheels. Aidan Neate goes on the grass, and Harry Junior Burgoyne through into 2nd place. Oh, well, Aidan Neate was trying his best to hold it round the outside, but Harry Junior Burgoyne had the inside line sorted. It's Kian Nakamura Berta who's going to come through for the victory. Burgoyne will be 2nd. Neate will be 3rd in front of Maximus Hall, with Finn McLaughlin charging through on the last lap again. A victory for Nakamura Berta, though. He wins. 2nd for Burgoyne. Then it is Neate, Hall and McLaughlin in front of Brandon Carr and Archie Clark. Nathan Ty is 8th from Alex O'Grady and Lewis Werrell. Ellis Stevens through to 11th from Will Knight and Cahal Clark. Lewis Bird and Kai Bacchini, who breaks his way back up to 15th position in front of Cian Geraghty, Dan Sofronea, Sky Parker, George Edgar, Jack Mowat, and 2 laps down, Hadi Mamasi after his earlier mechanical problems. But a great race for Kian Nakamura Berta. He really asserted himself at the front end of the field, and the Japanese driver for the Fusion Motorsport team has held his own there at the front end. Really nicely dealt with, and now holds the lead in the weekend. Great performance, 2 wins out of 2. Almost certainly he will be pole position now for the final. So, as the battle continues in IAME Cadet, it's Kian Nakamura Berta who wins the 2nd heat of the day for the IAME Cadet class, from Harry Junior Burgoyne and Aidan Neate in 3rd place, from Maximus Hall, then Finn McLaughlin. And we're going to go straight in for the Junior X30 heat, because obviously that earlier red flag stoppage means we now have time to make up. So we're going to jump straight into the action for Junior X30 in what has already been a very tough day at the office for the competitors. Green flags around the circuit as the track is declared clear. So now we're just waiting for all of the assumptions from the main pit gate so that we can see the juniors get out on circuit once again. And it will be a very tough fight for the Junior X30 brigade, because they've got some very tough races on this grid. Not a lot of time to play with, 8 minutes plus the additional lap. And Will Murdoch on the front row of the grid alongside Caden McQueen, after both of them have already put on a fairly stellar performance from their earlier heats. But of course, they are going to want to put on a magnificent run to the first corner. They will push very hard indeed to make this count towards their championship points, which they'll be scoring when they come to the final. Unless, of course, they can only make it as far as the repechage, in which case they'll have a few less points that they will be competing for. But it's always going to be very hard up at this point of the season, with round 2 of the Motorsport UK British Kart Championships for Junior X30 coming out onto the circuit very briefly now. As we wait for the action, we're just literally hanging on for the all clear from the drivers as they battle away for the Junior X30 title. Yesterday's main winner, of course, Georgi Dimitrov, for the Fusion Motorsport team in the final yesterday. Got a fantastic race performance, managed to get the lead at exactly the right moment and break a few kart lengths clear to sort out the final exactly when he needed to. It was an absolutely terrific display 24 hours ago. Well, I'll probably say about 21 hours ago, actually, if we're being particularly technical. But a really good effort, nonetheless, from Georgi Dimitrov to be the leader of the Drivers' Championship at this point. But it was going to get more tough from here on in. That is for certain, as the drivers will continue to tussle away. But we'll wait for the green flag to be declared on the top of the gantry. Just the last couple of checks around the circuit. It's going to be Will Murdoch who will start the race from pole position after his epic qualifying efforts earlier. And Caden McQueen in 2nd place. From Georgi Dimitrov and Alex Lee, Ivan Lomliev and Josh McLean. From Marcus Littlewood and Chris Harnan, then Harvey Ryby and Darrell Taylor. That is your drivers towards the sharp end of the field and filling out the top 10. Some good names up at the sharp end. A few who need to make a little bit more time, having had a difficult qualifying session earlier. It's not easy to get the clear traffic and get that perfect lap dialed in in Junior X30, especially when it is so populous in this grid. There is the green flag. Junior X30 are signalled to get going again, and so they head out on circuit for their rolling lap. Let's talk you through the grid in detail. Pole position, Will Murdoch. Alongside him on the grid is Caden McQueen. Then Georgi Dimitrov and Alex Lee from Ivan Lomliev and Josh McLean. Then it's Marcus Littlewood and the Dutchman Chris Harnan from Harvey Ryby and Darrell Taylor. Then Dan Butterworth and Oliver Gray, Harry Cottrell and Dylan Hotchin from the Japanese star Douglas Bolger and Rashan Chigarimbo alongside him. Switzerland's Eran Reshepi beside the Pole, Kasper Skuza. Archie Walker is beside the Welshman Max Meir. Then Aaron Walker is beside the Flying Scotsman Drew Davidson. Then Alex Moody, Oscar Joyce and Mikai Singh. So as the drivers dial themselves in and run around the circuit in the hope that they have done all the prep work they possibly can to knit themselves into position. They're obviously going to be weaving around to warm up the tyres and brakes. And they'll be a little bit more restless, of course, because that red flag period from earlier on means that they will basically have been waiting in the karts an additional 9 minutes to get out onto the circuit. And that always makes the drivers a little bit more restless when they want to get themselves up to speed. The adrenaline's obviously flowing and pumping as they get themselves ready to race. They come off the turn. Murdoch, McQueen, Dimitrov and Lee. Are we going to get a clean start? Straight away. No issue. Away we go. Murdoch is going to try and lead, but McQueen comes round the outside and tucks in under the Litchfield Bridge to the lead of the race. Fantastic start from McQueen. From the left side, he charges across and takes a beautiful lead of the race. Now they go through the Litchfield Bridge. No major catastrophes as McQueen heads Murdoch. Third place is Dimitrov in front of Alex Lee and Josh McLean. Then it's Lomliev in front of Harnan. Harnan's going to try and take on his teammate. He thinks better of it. And then it's Darrell Taylor in front of the Spirit of Senna colours of Marcus Littlewood in front of Chigarimbo. Then it is Oliver Gray in the 63. And that's Alex Moody, I think. Nope, my apologies. It is Dylan Hotchin, his teammate. Alex Moody is still in the pack, though. He's a little further back, but he is in position. Oh, and a contact. Two karts have gone together there. That is, I think, Cottrell, who has gone around. So Cottrell is in the mix there, unfortunately. And also in the mix, I think that's Oscar Joyce, who tried to get out of the way. So we'll double check as they come through. But three karts going together there. Caden McQueen, Will Murdoch, and Georgi Dimitrov is the order. From Lee, then Lomliev, McLean, Taylor, Harnan, Chigarimbo, and Gray. From Littlewood, Hotchin, Butterworth, Ryby, Skuza, Bolger, Meir, Archie Walker in front of Aaron J. Walker. And then it's Drew Davidson from Oscar Joyce, Alex Moody, and Mikai Singh. The two drivers in trouble were Eran Reshepi and Harry Cottrell. With Cottrell down at the back of the grid, Eran Reshepi having to take avoiding action as Josh McLean gets up the inside of Alex Lee to move up into 5th position. Alex Lee trying to come back, but it's McQueen, Murdoch and Dimitrov at the front end of the field. And then it's Lomliev in 4th from McLean, Lee, Darrell Taylor and Chris Harnan. Up to 9th is Oliver Gray, and in 10th place that's Rashan Chigarimbo. So a great little tussle up at the sharp end. Another spin, that's Alex Moody this time. So a couple of spins in the same place. It's at the S's on the way after the hairpins in the middle sector. So it's seen a couple of incidents in as many laps now. Into lap 3. And out in front, it's still this trio of drivers. McQueen, Murdoch and Dimitrov from Lomliev, McLean and Lee. Then Taylor, Harnan, Gray, Chigarimbo and Littlewood from Dan Butterworth and Douglas Bolger of Japan. They come through over the Litchfield Bridge once again, tucking out through the right-hander, and that is McQueen in front of Dimitrov now. He's got past Will Murdoch, but Murdoch wants to assist him getting to the lead because he can get through to 2nd. Then through comes Dimitrov, through comes Murdoch. McQueen has to give best and lets them go through to 3rd. So out in front, it is Dimitrov from Murdoch and McQueen. 4th place is McLean, Lomliev, Lee, Darrell Taylor and Chris Harnan in pursuit, and they are going to try and work together to close up on the 3 leaders. As again, McQueen hustles the man in 2nd place, Will Murdoch, the pole position sitter from original qualifying. They come off the Mike Wilson complex into the S's, left, right, and down the main straight. Here they come again, and this is going to be a tough one for McQueen to handle because he's got to try and find a clean route past Murdoch without losing too much time to Georgi Dimitrov up front. Will he dive for the inside of the hairpin? No, he's going to work and assist him to get onto the tail. Is there going to be a move? Not yet for the lead. Murdoch is not quite close enough to gamble that one on Georgi Dimitrov. Might get some assistance down the back straight from McQueen. Gravity comes into account down the long sweeping slant, but McQueen's not going to wait around. He's going to get up the inside of Murdoch and into 2nd place. Good run. Meanwhile, it's McLean, Lomliev, and Alex Lee behind. Then it's Chris Harnan having made the move on Daryl Taylor. Oliver Gray closing up in 9th place. Then it's Chigarimbo, Butterworth. That's Littlewood. Then it's Butterworth on the gold chassis. Then it's Bolger in front of Archie Walker and Kasper Skuza, the Polish racer, really starting to pick up the pieces again now for the MLC Motorsport driver. So they come through the final chicane. And again, it is Dimitrov in front of McQueen and Murdoch. Very close indeed, the three of them. They drift out of the final turn. Back down the home stretch into lap 5. Dimitrov, McQueen, Murdoch, then McLean, Lomliev, Lee, Harnan, Taylor, Gray and Chigarimbo. Littlewood and Butterworth are still together. But there's going to be a tough fight moving forward as they come over the bridge. Is that McQueen to the inside, defending Murdoch? It is indeed. So he gestures to Murdoch, come on, stop battling me. Let's go and catch this guy. Meanwhile, Alex Lee has a brief look on the inside of Ivan Lomliev, but decides better off going through on his teammate. And their sister Kart of 7th place, Chris Harnan, the Dutchman, is there in 7th position in front of Oliver Gray now. So Gray's got through into 8th. Then it is Daryl Taylor in front of Chigarimbo. And then it is Marcus Littlewood in front of Butterworth and Bolger. Then Archie Walker charging after them. A very tough battle at the front end of the field as McQueen is dialing up. That's Murdoch in the lead. So Murdoch has somehow made his way past both McQueen and Dimitrov, and that's put them back into the chasing pack of McLean and Lomliev. It's now a 5-way fight for the victory. Under the Litchfield Bridge, Murdoch holds it. Diving for the inside line goes McQueen, and Dimitrov's going to go with him. They're going to go 3 wide round the hairpin, and McQueen gets through. Dimitrov in a second, and Josh McLean now comes through into 3rd place, as on the grass goes Lomliev, with Murdoch up the inside, and here comes Alex Lee to get on the inside of his teammate. For the lead goes Dimitrov. He gets through. McLean goes sideways with McQueen. They both drift wide, and that's enough for Murdoch to get through into 2nd place. So, a big dive from further back from Chris Harnan. He gets on the inside of his teammate Alex Lee, and Oliver Gray's come past Ivan Lomliev. Great battle between those two. They come over the curbs, and that's put Oliver Gray up into 7th place. Meanwhile, McQueen is still jostling with the Coles Racing pair, and that's put him down the outside. I think Gray's going to get through into 6th position. He does. McQueen, unfortunately, is tumbling down the order. He's just caught the wrong end of the deal here, as we've got just under 2 minutes, plus the additional lap. Dimitrov, Murdoch and McLean are the top 3 now. 4th position for Alex Lee in front of his teammate Chris Hunt. Then Oliver Gray, Caden McQueen and Daryl Taylor from Lomliev down to 9th. Then Chigarimbo in front of Bolger, but behind Littlewood now. So Littlewood, in the spirit of Senna colours, has got himself right onto the back of this queue. Oliver Gray's working with Alex Lee to get on the inside of Chris Harnan. They're both going to sweep by into the hairpin as Josh McLean gets through on Will Murdoch into 2nd place. So Dimitrov leads. McLean is 2nd. Then it is Murdoch. Up to 4th is Alex Lee from McQueen, who comes back to 5th. Gray and Harnan side by side battling, and that is Chigarimbo cutting across on Littlewood. Terrific racing in Junior X30 again as they continue to tussle for position. They just about get through Bobby Game and Mike Wilson Complex without too many catastrophes, but there is going to be a minute to go as they cross the line roughly. So that's 2 laps to go by my math. Georgi Dimitrov in front of Josh McLean and Will Murdoch. And up the inside goes Caden McQueen. He gets through in the S's to get the 4th position move under the Litchfield Bridge. He is now into P4, and Oliver Gray is sizing up a move on Alex Lee for 5th. Meanwhile, the leaders are through. Dimitrov, McLean and Murdoch. A great fight for Josh McLean. This up 4 places to P2 as a big lunge on the inside. A very hesitant lunge from Alex Lee, but he makes it work. And he's up into P4 again in front of McQueen and Oliver Gray. Gray comes around the outside. Watch out for Lomliev. McQueen, a massive dive on Alex Lee in the 2nd hairpin. He looks across, trying to figure out what's happening. McQueen on the inside of Lomliev. Lomliev attacks back on the inside of Oliver Gray, and Gray has to run wide. And there's a big defense from Alex Lee as he tries to cut off the attack of Caden McQueen. McQueen tries to cut back in the Mike Wilson Complex, and he is through. Caden McQueen comes up into 4th position on the inside line. There's an absolute squabble further back as into the last lap go the 3 leaders, Dimitrov, McLean, and in 3rd, Will Murdoch. McQueen 4th from Lomliev, Taylor, Lee, Gray, Harnan, Chigarimbo, Walker, Bolger, Butterworth, and Littlewood. Absolutely sensational. A lot of drivers trying to make up a few cheeky places on this last lap. Archie Walker making great ground. He's made up 8 places, more than anybody else in the field. And he's still going. Meanwhile, for the lead, it's 3 abreast. McLean has to get back on terms with Murdoch to stop him coming through into second place. Now McLean's going to try and get his teammate, Georgi Dimitrov. They're going to need to wrestle for this because Murdoch's not going to be denied. Further back on the grass, that's one of the Coles drivers. I think Alex Lee going a little bit deep. No, it's not Lee because he's still motoring on. It's got to be then the 67 and Max Meir going wide. He's now right in the hunt. But the 3 top drivers are coming through the Mike Wilson complex for the last time, and I think Dimitrov's going to have this in front of Josh McLean. McLean is going to get some assistance across the line, though, from Murdoch. You never know, but it is Dimitrov. He gets there in front of McLean and Murdoch. 4th place is going to be McQueen in front of Lomliev and Darrell Taylor. 7th is just Alex Lee ahead of Oliver Gray. 9th is Harnan. 10th is Chigarimbo. Archie Walker makes the most progress of anybody in that race, up to 11th position from 19th on the grid. Great work for the Dan Holland Racing driver. A 2nd place, very much though, for Josh McLean behind Georgi Dimitrov, and he looks pretty relieved. He's just looking back to see what happened elsewhere. And Archie Walker 11th. 12th is Douglas Bolger. Then Littlewood from Aaron J. Walker, Max Meir and Dan Butterworth, Drew Davidson and Alex Moody from Kasper Skuza and Mikai Singh. Then Harvey Ryby, Oscar Joyce, Erin Reshepi, Harry Cottrell, and a very frustrated Dylan Hodgkin over the line. 25 of them started, 25 of them finished. Some happier than others, some frustrated more than others, but what great racing in Junior X30 yet again as Georgi Dimitrov continues the job, and the mission is going absolutely A1. So he continues to hold his line at the front end of the field into the 2nd Junior X30 heat straight away. No flotsam and jetsam to clean up at the side of the track, so we can go green straight away around the circuit. It looks as though pretty much everybody is ready to get that going, except for the final marshal post, which is by the pit entry up at Bobby Game Corner. Once that is correct and ready, we will be able to go racing. And the green flag flies at the top of the gantry, so we're all ready to run. The drivers come straight out of the pits, and we're back into the action once again. Not far off the schedule either, just 1 minute behind schedule I think we are now. Oh, sorry, we are 6 minutes behind schedule, but we're getting back up to it, and great racing on the way. Joe Taylor and Oliver Behrman on the front row of the grid from Reggie Dewey and Tyler Reid. Then Tom Edgar and Sam Heading from Alessandro Sananetti and Aaron Walker. Charlie Cole and Sam Shaw round out the top 10 from Freddie Spindlow and Josh Rowledge, Oliver Duffel and Blake Anglis. Then Tom Levin and Sam Hawthorne, the Swede Wilgert Eggfist and Jamie Mead from Zach Meakin and the Irishman JP Sleater, from James Walker, Jacob McComb, Ben Jenkins and the Jamaican Kalai Atkins. So the racers obviously getting themselves again into position. They want to dial in the best possible warm-up mode they can. Warming up the tyres, warming up the brakes. There's a very fine art to getting this done exactly to plan. Otherwise, you really have got a difficulty in getting these karts ready for race action. It's never quite as easy as just weaving from side to side. There's a very delicate manner in which you have to make sure the karts are ready to rock and roll. Well, the drivers are doing such a fine job at the moment. It's now just a case of getting them round that final turn and getting them dialed in for the action. They are in their formation. They will get on the throttle, out of the final turn. Is it a clean start? You betcha. Away we go. And it's a cracker from Oliver Behrman. Straight into the lead as they go round the outside. And Tyler Reid has gone with him. So the left side doing better than the right side this time. And they squabble through the Litchfield Bridge. But it's Behrman and Reid up in the front end from Joe Taylor. And in 4th, that looks to me like a fantastic start from Sam Heading. Heading has come through into 4th place ahead of Reggie Dewey. And then it's Tom Edgar in 6th position. Cracking start, and it's just getting going as the field muscles its way through the S's at the hairpins as well. Oh, and a little bit of a fisticuff. Goodness me, going airborne is the 18 of JP Sleater. The Irishman took off on the way down the back straight and manages to rejoin down at the back of the field, but the Irishman will be spitting absolute cobs on his way round that final section of the lap. He'll be really frustrated with the kart actually taking off at various points around the circuit. So, out of the final turn down the main straight, it's Oliver Behrman from Tyler Reid and Joe Taylor. That's your top 3 at the moment. And the man under investigation is actually Oliver Behrman. Now, what is that for? So far, it looks to me as though, well, we've got a message on the timing screen that says Oliver Behrman, the race leader, is under investigation. I've got to ask, what was that for? Because that's going to be a very interesting potential for him. I'm hearing that it could be from the start of the race. So there is a potential then that Oliver Bearman might have moved out of the tram lines a fraction of a second too soon. If that is the case, he's going to get a penalty for it. So that would be a real heartbreaker for Oliver Bearman out in front. They're obviously investigating it now. I've got no further updates, but so for the moment, Oliver Bearman's just got to concentrate on the job and focus on the race lead up front. So Bearman coming through the chicane as they come up off the Mike Wilson complex, back into the S's, left, through again to the right, and down onto the main straight. Oliver Bearman running nicely in front of Tyler Reid. No, Tyler Reid has fallen out of contention. Where is Tyler Reid? Seems to have disappeared from the fray. Now, where is Tyler Reid? He seems to have gone. Oh, he's up at the third corner. I didn't see that. Tyler Reid has parked the kart up at the third corner. So he is out of the race on lap 2. That is devastatingly bad luck for Tyler Reid, and it looks as though it might have been a mechanical problem. So a real difficulty for Tyler Reid now. His weekend is completely compromised. So up to second place comes Joe Taylor, and he's now right on the back of Oliver Bearman once again. Then it is Reggie Dewey in front of the 57 of Sam Heading. So Reggie Dewey has made his way past Heading. And then behind them, it is Edgar, Walker, Rowledge, Serenetti, Spindlow, Cole, Leben, Anglis, Hawthorne and Oliver Duffel in front of Sam Shaw. And that is going to... Oh, massive battle as now Oliver Bearman down to second. Reggie Dewey has done it again. He's worked his magic. Gone up to second, gone up to first, and now he's got a bit of a break. Reggie Dewey, a few kart legs clear of Oliver Bearman and Joe Taylor. They're going to need to work together to catch him once more. Heading fourth from Edgar, Rowledge, Serenetti, Spindlow, Aaron Walker, Tom Leben, Charlie Cole and Blake Anglis. Up the inside, that's Heading, making his move on the inside of Joe Taylor. And Sam Heading through to third position. A great run from the privateer. Sam Heading doing an absolutely brilliant job here in third place, as he now tucks onto the back of Oliver Bearman for the KR Sports Squad. But it's the red machine, Reggie Dewey, out in front. Red Reg is leading in the 66. So up towards the chicane. Left, plenty of curb. Right, kisses the apex. Back down towards Bobby Game corner. And a really strong charge. So Reggie Dewey continues in the race out in front of Oliver Bearman. And there is going to be a tight battle as Joe Taylor is trying to get himself back on terms with Sam Heading in third position. Fifth place, is that Serenetti? Goodness me, it is. Alessandro Serenetti has charged his way back into P5 once again. I know he started around the top 10 area, but unfortunately it was always going to be a tricky one as Tyler Reid walks in. What a real shame for him. What a disaster. That could easily have been a race victory for him. But Red Reg, Reggie Dewey, is out in front. And in second position, it's Oliver Bearman. Up the inside for third comes Joe Taylor. Back on the inside of Sam Heading. Serenetti trying to repeat the feat. But Heading holds that inside line. And here comes Aaron Walker. Serenetti's on the wrong side of the circuit to allow that to move. So Aaron Walker goes through. Serenetti now trying to chop off Blake Anglis because Tom Edgar's also gone through. And then so too does Blake Anglis. So that puts Serenetti, I'm afraid, right the way down into about 9th position, I think. So it's very easy for one moment like that to cost you dear. But Reggie Dewey leads in front of Oliver Bearman. They go down the main straight. A really good run here with 3 minutes on the clock plus the additional lap. Oliver Bearman in second. Taylor third. Then it is Heading, Rowledge, Edgar, Leben, Serenetti and Aaron Walker. Then we have Charlie Cole in front of Blake Anglis and Freddie Spindlow ahead of James Walker. A big tussle up the inside from Aaron Walker as he tries to... No, sorry, that's not Aaron Walker. That is the sister kart, isn't it? No, it is Aaron Walker. Josh Rowledge is a little further up the road. Rowledge is going for a big move on the inside of Sam Heading. Edgar's already got there. Rowledge is trying to complete the feat. And Serenetti makes a big lunge on the inside of Blake Anglis. And that's enough room for Aaron Walker to get the space as well. There goes Charlie Cole. Charlie Cole up the inside. A very avid club racer. But this is his British Kart Championship debut this weekend. So they come through onto the far side. Right through the right flick. And back up to the hairpin once again. And it's a lead change. Oliver Bearman's gone into the lead. I missed that. Sorry. Bearman is leading. Bearman is out in front of Reggie Dewey. And now Joe Taylor's coming for a charge to come through in his second place. Reggie Dewey wants some assistance from Joe Taylor. 1 minute 50 left on the race, plus the additional lap after it. So it's going to be tough for the battle. Up the inside goes Joe Taylor on the inside of Reggie Dewey. So Joe Taylor through to second place. Reggie Dewey down to third. And a big moment further back, that's Spindlow. Spindlow getting caught out, first of all, by one of the Coles. As Sam Shaw, I think that is, charging up the inside of Sam Hawthorne and loses ground. Oh, Sam Shaw has his hand in the air at Sam Hawthorne, shaking his fist at Sam Hawthorne. He's not happy with that in the slightest, and that's put him 6 or 7 places down the order. No wonder. So a big moment there as Sam Hawthorne charges away with Sam Shaw. And it looks to me as though that's already being discussed. But Oliver Behrman is out in front. Second place, Joe Taylor. Third is Reggie Dewey. And in fourth place now, it is Josh Rowledge. His determination knows no bounds. Aaron Walker, meanwhile, is not far behind him at all. He's in sixth place, trying to dive up the inside of Heading, and he's going to get there. Great resurgence from the Strawberry Racing teammates, Josh Rowledge and Aaron Walker, and it's going to go 3 wide into the fourth corner in the bridge. That's going to be absolute nightmarish, but somehow they all get out, and Serenetti's at the head of the queue. Edgar's going to come up the inside with some assistance from Blake Anglis. They're both going to dive up the inside of Serenetti and take the place. And next up in the queue is going to be... Oh, hang on a minute. That's not Blake Anglis. I think that's actually a very fast Tom Leben. It is Tom Leben. Then it's Blake Anglis behind Serenetti. Meanwhile, Joe Taylor's hit the front. Joe Taylor and Reggie Dewey have both got past Oliver Behrman. And with a few seconds to spare, they are going to complete the penultimate lap. Taylor is in front, Reggie Dewey in second, Behrman third, and then it's Rowledge and Walker with Sam Heading, the underdog in this, in sixth place. But it's going to be a 5-way fight. Last lap. Here we go. Joe Taylor in front of Dewey. Third place, Behrman. And up the inside, Behrman's going to get some challenge from Josh Rowledge. Rowledge is going to hold it to the inside. Reggie Dewey gets the place into the lead in turn 4. So turn 4, he gets the position. Reggie Dewey leads from Taylor, Walker. No, sorry, that's Rowledge in third. And then it is Oliver Behrman in fourth. Behrman tries to come around the outside. Aaron Walker trying to get into fourth place. But Reggie Dewey leads it. Joe Taylor in second. Is Josh Rowledge going to chance an opportunity to get into second up at Bobby Game Corner? He needs to get a little bit closer to Joe Taylor to make the move stick. But Aaron Walker is right on the back of Oliver Behrman in the bid for fourth position. And he's going to get up the inside. Behrman chops across, though. Good defense. But now it's going to be the battle to the flag, and through the Mike Wilson complex, this time AP Racing's Red Reg, Reggie Dewey, he's going to come through for the victory. A fantastic race, and he takes the victory. What a sigh of relief for Reggie Dewey. Joe Taylor second. Josh Rowledge is third from Oliver Behrman and Aaron Walker. Sam Heading is sixth from Tom Edgar and Tom Leben. James Walker and Alessandro Serenetti round out the top 10 in front of Blake Anglis. And then Charlie Cole from Freddie Spindlow and Kalai Atkins. And then Sam Hawthorne and Zach Meakin from Jacob McComb and Jamie Mead. Oliver Duffel and Wilgert Edqvist from a very frustrated Sam Shaw, JP Slater and Ben Jenkins. And unfortunately, it is Tyler Reid who had to walk in early after a problem with his kart up at the third corner. What a dramatic Junior X30 race. That had all the twists and turns you could expect from a final. But Reggie Dewey is really happy and really excited about that race victory and a perfect effort all the way throughout. But unfortunately for Tyler Reid, it's a long walk back to the pits that he's already carried out, in fact. So now it's just left to the marshals and mechanics to get that kart off the racetrack after what has been a very tough race anyhow. And now, of course, they will be focusing on the next race, which is, again, a Senior X30 battle. And with some top talent in the grid for this one. Senior X30 is next up. And from pole position, Louis Westover will want to continue his fine form for the weekend. Green flags fly, and we go racing once again. 3 minutes behind schedule. Not bad considering a red flag from earlier on. And we're back into the action once again for Senior X30 this time. And it's an all-British front row. Louis Westover and Lewis Malin on the front row of the grid from Alex Pendlebury and Luke White. Then it's the Peruvian Matthias Zagazeta in fifth alongside Matthew Hudson. Then Matt Armstrong and Mark Kimber, the reigning European champion. Alex Lloyd is beside Nelson King in the top 10. And then we have Reese Ujajima in 11th from Jensen Brown. Then it is Archie Tillett and Henry Ayers. Rory Hudson and Charles Lamb from Caroline Candas, who is beside Thomas Wood. Rufus Hunt and Louis Maurice. And then Cameron Coombs, Jack Gordon, Callum Driscoll and Piers Henderson. So the drivers are now in position as they warm up the tyres and brakes again. Plenty of talent in this field with lots of good battles to come from the drivers. And we'll see what sort of pace they will have when they come through one more time. But the drivers have put on a spectacular show. It's always going to be very tough to see how things are going. But the racing is going to be very fast and frenetic. So the drivers will continue to pace themselves. It's going to be a really tough battle. And we'll see some truly exciting wheel-to-wheel action as the drivers come through the final turn. Westover, Malin, Pendlebury, Whitehead, Zagazeta, Hudson, Armstrong, Kimber, Lloyd, King, Ushijima, Brown. Ready? Let's race. Cracking start. Down to the first corner, through to the S's, and Westover's got a great start. So too Pendlebury and Zagazeta. They've charged through from the right side of the grid as they charge through the Litchfield Bridge and now come sweeping through the right-hand hairpin, and they go through the left up towards the chicane. Oh, and there's two of them. One's gone stage left off the circuit up at turn 3 and rejoined. Well, that's a big accident. Fortunately, they are actually able to get going again. I'm not sure who that was, but spitting out onto the grass very badly indeed. That looks to me like Cameron Coombs, I think, who went spat out off the circuit there at the hairpin. But out in front, no trouble at all for Westover. He leads quite comfortably. Pendlebury, Zagazeta and Malin are having an amazing squabble over second, and it is indeed Cameron Coombs who has that incident, runs very wide, loses about 7 seconds, but carries on despite the fact that he very nearly hit the fence on the far side. Down the main straight, and it's Westover leading with nearly a second already over Pendlebury and Zagazeta. Then it's Malin, Armstrong, Kimber, Whitehead, Nelson King and Alex Lloyd, and then Hudson, Ushijima, Rory Hudson, Archie Tillett and Charlie Lamb. As up the inside for third goes Malin. Makes the move on Zagazeta. And as they drop down the back straight, it's no problem at all. So let's see how the drivers continue to challenge into that final hairpin of the first sector. They go through the turn 1, back on the power, through to the second hairpin on that section, through the left. And Westover is being caught progressively by Pendlebury, Malin and Zagazeta. But it's clear that Malin wants to get to the front of the queue to battle for it. And we'll see some truly spectacular wheel-to-wheel action from the drivers as they neck their way through the chicane and up onto the far side. They will tussle through the final chicane. Westover with a decent lead over Pendlebury, Malin and Zagazeta. And thanks to their battling, Westover is now a second clear, pretty much. Pendlebury second from Malin, Zagazeta, Armstrong, Kimber, Whitehead, King, Lloyd, Hudson, Ushijima and Hudson. And there's a warning flag gone out. Now that is for the 47 of the Frenchman Louis Maurice. Now, I don't know what that's for exactly. Zagazeta, meanwhile, is having to battle to keep Matt Armstrong at bay. Armstrong's not listening to his gestures of cooperation. Armstrong going through, and Kimber going alongside Zagazeta. Whitehead's going to get a chance on Kimber. Kimber trying to hurry Zagazeta up a little bit on the way down to the second hairpin. That's not really going to work. But Zagazeta struggling now in 5th position, having fallen off the back of the pack in front. And, oh, we've got a wheel off. A wheel off in the second hairpin. Now that, unfortunately, is Callum Driscoll. Callum Driscoll has lost the rear wheel. Now, that is going to be a yellow flag. But Callum Driscoll should be able to move that kart off the racing line fairly sharpishly and rush over to the marshal post on the inside line. But Callum Driscoll has lost a wheel in his battle for position. Now, that's either very heavy contact or somebody needs to do the washing up when they get home because their spannering is not up to scratch. I'm assuming it's the former. So Westover leads the way. Pendlebury from Malin. 4th place is Matt Armstrong in front of Kimber and Zagazeta. Then it is Nelson King and Whitehead. The field knits its way through that zone. And fortunately, Driscoll's kart did come to a stop out of harm's way. He's managed to drag it further off the racing line at the midway point of lap 3. A very strange incident indeed. So far, it looks as though there's going to be a really tough battle to the finish line of this one. As here are the leaders, 2nd and 3rd, I should say, chasing after Westover. Pendlebury and Malin working as a team. Armstrong free and clear in 4th in front of Kimber, Zagazeta and King. Then Whitehead, Alex Lloyd, Rory Hudson, Charlie Lamb, Risa Shijima and Archie Tillett. From Jensen Brown, Matthew Hudson, Piers Henderson, Tom Wood, Henry Ayres, Jack Gordon. The French teammates, Louis Maurice and Caroline Candas for Litchfield Motorsport. And then it is Rufus Hunt in front of Cameron Coombs. And the one retirement so far is Callum Driscoll with that wheel coming off on lap 3. Nice move up the inside of Ushijima from Tillett. And now he's trying to take on Charlie Lamb. Whitehead is in the middle of a nasty moment there with the 2 drivers for Dan Holland Racing, Alex Lloyd, and the 10 in that mix there as well of Rory Hudson. Charlie Lamb in the middle of all that. And yellow flags as Whitehead comes together with Alex Lloyd. Now, Whitehead has come off worse. Lloyd goes across the grass. Whitehead rejoins after the spin. Now, what was that about? Was that a revenge attack, or were they just not looking where they were going? Because Alex Lloyd and Luke Whitehead have ended up tangling, and they tumble down the order as a result. In fact, Luke Whitehead has actually pulled into the pits. So Luke Whitehead appears to have picked up too much damage to continue, and Luke Whitehead is absolutely livid with that. I was talking to him earlier, actually, about the frustrations and trials and tribulations of running on a tight budget. And, well, this race is definitely not going to make him feel any happier with his lot. Westover leads the way. Malin in second, Pendlebury in third. Fourth is Kimber in front of Armstrong now. So he's gained the ground and made his way up to 4th place. 6th is now Zagazeta in front of Hudson, King, Lamb, Tillett, Brown and Ushijima. In front of Hudson, Henderson, Wood, Ayres and Alex Lloyd. From Laurie Maurice, Jack Gordon, Caroline Candas and Rufus Hunt from Cameron Coombs. But Whitehead and Driscoll are out of the race. It's another bad day at the office. Fortune does not favour Luke Whitehead at the moment. Westover in front of Malin and Pendlebury. Kimber, Armstrong, Zagazeta, Hudson, King, Tillett and Charlie Lamb. From Jensen Brown and Risa Shijima. And they come over the bridge into that square right. And Westover has just controlled the pace of the race. As there is a warning now, well, under investigation is what we're being told. And it's for the 57 of Luke Whitehead. So I assume it's got something to do with the incident earlier on with him and Alex Lloyd. So we'll figure out what the assessment is of that particular contretemps. I don't know whether it's for the first moment in the second hairpin or the second moment, just a corner later, as Ushijima defends like a dog through the way, trying to keep up his position in front of Matthew Hudson, chops across the front fairing. And that's going to be a very tight battle between those two. Meanwhile, second place is still a 4-way scrap behind Westover, but they're over a second back. Malin, Pendlebury, Kimber and Armstrong now scrapping for second place with the last minute of the race commencing. But I think the Westover pace at the moment, Westover's pace seems to dictate that he is going to have enough time to start another lap at the end of this one before time runs out. So Westover should be able to get 2 laps in the board rather than 1. As up the inside, Kimber gets the move on Pendlebury up to 3rd position. That is sheer determination and perseverance from Mark Kimber to get up to 3rd place. Now Pendlebury's going to try and shake off Matt Armstrong. Armstrong to the inside. No, you don't. Lovely defence from Pendlebury. Just chopping across. You're not further up and off on the side, me, mate. That's never going to happen. So really good racing and a really good battle from them as they continue to charge away through the chicane. Left, right, onto the main straight once more. And this is a fantastic battle as they come over the main straight once more. Westover is 1.3 ahead of Malin and Kimber. Then Pendlebury, Armstrong, Hudson and Zagazeta. King, Lamb, Tillett, Brown, Ushijima, Hudson, Henderson, Wood, Ayres and Louis Maurice. From Jack Gordon, Caroline Candas, Rufus Hunt and Alex Lloyd, who is way down the order now in 21st position. I think he's had another incident somewhere in front of Cameron Coombs, as Lloyd was further in the pack than that. Kimber goes for second and gets it from Lewis Malin. Absolutely resolute, Mark Kimber, charging up the order again. Now he drifts out wide. Malin's going to get alongside, but the faster line for Kimber means that he can get the kart slightly faster out of the corner, carries more speed and holds on to second place. Brilliant driving, brilliant tactics and strategy from these guys as they continue their charge forward. Absolutely sensational stuff as the racing continues and the action is still palpable up at the front end of the field. Over the line goes Westover. Kimber comes through 1.6 seconds later with time run down to nothing. Last lap. And Westover has just dominated this heat. But for 3rd position, it's getting pretty tasty. Pendlebury trying to get through on Malin and has done so. Pendlebury through to third on Malin, and now Matt Armstrong's going to be a contender for this one as well. They go down the back straight into the hairpin, and Kimber in second, Pendlebury, Malin, Armstrong, and then comes the 10. Fighting his way back through the field is Rory Hudson. Hudson trying to get through on the inside of Armstrong. And this is very good determination from Rory Hudson to get himself into P6. That's a makeup of 9 places from what was P15 on the grid. Only Piers Henderson has done better than that, up 10 to 14th from 24th on the grid. But a victory in the offing for Louis Westover. He cleans up in dominant fashion in this heat. Westover takes the victory. Brilliant. Checks over his shoulder. Where is everybody? Mark Kimber is second, 1.7 back. Pendlebury third from Malin, Armstrong, Hudson and Zagazeta. From Nelson King, Archie Tillett, and in the top 10, it's Reese Ushijima. Then it's Charlie Lamb from Jensen Brown. Piers Henderson makes it back to 13th from the back of the grid. Then Thomas Wood from Matthew Hudson, Henry Ayres, Jack Gordon, Caroline Gandas, and Rufus Hunt ahead of Alex Lloyd, Louis Maurice, and Cameron Coombs. With our 2 retirements, Luke Whitehead and Callum Driscoll, both involved in incidents. Well, a very tight race in Senior X30. Always very difficult to judge who's going to get the victory. Even more impressive then that Louis Westover was able to get such a magnificent start to proceedings. So there's a yellow flag at the first corner, and that is obviously because of the clean-up job for Callum Driscoll's kart, which is now only a 3-wheeler at the moment, because obviously the left rear fell off over the course of the third lap. We're not sure what the reason for that was, but certainly the wheel came undone from the kart, and now the Jade Racing machine, unfortunately, is a 3-wheeler. That doesn't happen very often in karting. But we're now getting ourselves ready for the final Senior X30 heat of the weekend. It's been a very exciting battle all through the meeting, and we've had some stellar races from Senior X30 today. They really have given us some massive entertainment, even though that last heat had a little bit too much fisticuffs for my liking in a few different places. We had some tricky moments, but it's now going to be a tricky performance for the drivers in this next Senior X30 heat, particularly for the drivers on the front row of the grid. Gus Lawrence and Elliot Harvey are set to do battle as they charge the way to the front row of the grid. Looks as though we're going to get a clean start out of the pit gate very soon, because the kart of Callum Driscoll has now been recovered by the mechanic at the first corner. And so the drivers will be flagged away from the position. Green flag flies at the first corner, just waiting for the double checks, and 1.5 minutes behind schedule. It looks as though we're going to get underway once more for the race action in the Motorsport UK British Kart Championships after some pretty tasty racing. Green flag flies, and we're out racing once again. So let's talk you through this grid in Senior X30, the final heat of the weekend for them. Gus Lawrence and Elliot Harvey will be on the front row of the grid from Thomas Turner and Morgan Porter. Derek Morgan and Oliver Hodgson will be on row 3 from Clayton Ravenscroft and Roman LaRue. Cole Kilner and Max Jean will round up the top 10 from Callum Barnett and Sean Butcher. Ben Hodge and Abigail Ross will be next, and then it will be Alexander Wang and Teddy Pritchard-Williams. Matilda Olsen looks like she'll be alone on the row of the grid. Ollie Greetham doesn't appear to be out there unless he's got a transponder issue. Then Harry Barlow and Alexander Patterson. And then it is going to be Ryan Green and the Filipino Eduardo Cosatang from Josh Graham, Lee Chamberlain, Tom Nippers and Axel Laflamme. So the racers building up the speed and again dialing in the karts as they want to get themselves up to speed. I can't see Ollie Greetham out there, so he must have some kind of problem. But it is going to be interesting to see how much progress the drivers can make up. The sun is starting to come through and heat up the circuit a little bit more now in this second half of the day, supporting the ideal that we're not really going to have any rain over the course of the rest of the day, which is exactly what we wanted, essentially. It's been a perfect weather conditions in terms of the lack of precipitation. We only had a sprinkle of rain about 8 o'clock this morning, and that wasn't even heavy enough to consider anything other than slick tyres. So it's going to be a really exciting rest of the day. The sun comes out, and it's going to coat the circuit with a nice beam of sunshine. So the drivers will come through, and it's going to be Lawrence, Harvey, Turner, Porter, Morgan, Hodgson, Ravenscroft, LaRue, Kilner, and Jean. And so we're going to see an amazing fight. Here we go. What a start as they charge forward. And it's going to be a very tough one for Turner as he breaks through into second place in front of Elliot Harvey. Morgan and Morgan Porter are battling away together. That's Derek Morgan versus Morgan Porter as they come up the hill and round the far side. We're going to see some really exciting battles between the drivers as they break off the turn and down the back straight again. But it is Lawrence in front of Thomas Turner. Elliot Harvey in third from Derek Morgan. Morgan's going to cut in on the inside for a move into third position. Lovely job. Into third position he goes. And in fifth place now, that is Morgan Porter in front of Oliver Hodgson as Harvey gets on the curb and alongside Derek Morgan. Watch out for Morgan Porter trying to get through with Oliver Hodgson, and Clayton Ravenscroft in seventh place just in front of the Frenchman Romain Leroux. They sweep through the S's up onto the far side of the circuit through to the Mike Wilson complex, and so far so good for the race leader Gus Lawrence. He holds the place in front of Elliot Harvey on the way through to the first inside hairpin. And that could be catastrophic for Ravenscroft's weekend. He just needs to dial it back in and get back onto it. And there's a warning flag that's come out now. That's for the 75 of Clayton Ravenscroft. So they clearly feel, the officials, that was actually his doing. So maybe Morgan Porter wasn't waving to say sorry. He was waving to say, what are you playing at, mate? Down the back straight, Gus Lawrence from Thomas Turner. Turner, the O plate in this Senior X30 category. That means he is the British Open champion. Charging after Gus Lawrence. They come down to the second hairpin, through the left, back onto the power and up towards the S's. In through the left and right they will go. Turning in, Lawrence had a massive advantage. Not now. Thomas Turner's right underneath him. A few kart lengths back is Elliot Harvey. A few more is the battle for fourth with Morgan Porter, Derek Morgan and Cole Kilner. Another warning flag, this time for the Frenchman, Romain Leroux. So Romain Leroux now has a warning flag on the main straight. So we had one for Ravenscroft and now one for Leroux as they come through down the main straight and into the chicane under the Litchfield Bridge and charging through the hairpin. It is Lawrence and Turner now battling for the lead of the race. Turner's not quite close enough yet to make the bid on Lawrence, as up to the inside for fourth place goes Cole Kilner. Makes the move on Morgan Porter and gets through into P4. Turner still all over the back of Gus Lawrence. A few kart lengths back. In third is Elliot Harvey. Then it is Porter versus Kilner, with Kilner just in front at the moment. Morgan is sixth, Hodgson seventh. Then it's Max Jean in front of Clayton Ravenscroft. And for 10th place, it's teammates Sean Butcher versus Callum Barnett. 24 is next in the list. That's the Singaporean Alexander Wang. And so they continue their tussle for the top 10. But a few drivers very much on the back foot here as they try to make up progress. Not easy on the Premier British circuit as they come through off the final turn. Down the main straight, across the finish line. Thomas Turner on the back of Gus Lawrence, sweeping through the chicane, under the Litchfield Bridge. And up the inside, Ravenscroft pulls off a fine move on Max Jean into the first corner, takes the place away. Meanwhile, Turner's getting himself dialed in. It's getting pretty hectic at the first chicane in the midfield. Lots of drivers choosing that as their overtaking spot. Fastest lap of the race, Oliver Hodgson now in 6th position, closing down on Kilner and Morgan. So what has happened to, well, what has happened to Morgan Porter? He's fallen back behind Oliver Hodgson by the look of it, down to 7th place. Not a comfortable couple of laps for Morgan Porter then. And then it is Clayton Ravenscroft in front of Max Jean. Well, what a tough race this is going to turn out to be for several drivers in the mix. They're all wanting to have a crack at the top spot. So they come through off the Mike Wilson complex, through the left, through the right, back onto the power and down the main straight again. This is going to get very hectic on the way to the first chicane. They come through under the Litchfield Bridge. And now tucking round the far side of the hairpin, Gus Lawrence in front of Thomas Turner. Turner still giving plenty of aggro as they go over the Litchfield Bridge, through to the square right, down the back straight. This is going to get quite spicy. Oh, in a moment, and there is up the inside goes Derek Morgan to get through past Cole Kilner. There's enough room for Hodgson to complete the move as well. And now Morgan Porter's going to get the hint and move up to 6th position himself. He sweeps through at the hairpin. Ravenscroft in 8th place behind them, now trying to chase them down. But Kilner wants to get back on terms with Morgan Porter. So things are going to get quite tasty as they move through. Up into the chicane. And they go back down the short stretch. Oh, and there's been an incident further back. That's the 33 going around of Josh Graham. So Josh Graham has ended up at the back of the field, and he was quite irate that he feels he knows who is at fault for it. Only saw the aftermath, unfortunately. 2 minutes to go, plus the additional lap. Gus Lawrence and Thomas Turner, Harvey, Morgan, Hodgson, Kilner, Porter, Ravenscroft, Jean and Butcher. That's your top 10 at the moment. Then it's Callum Barnett from Teddy Pritchard Williams, Hodge, Wang, Laflamme, LaRue, Nippers, Cosatang, Green, Ross, Olsen, Patterson, Chamberlain, Barlow, and Josh Graham. But still Thomas Turner absolutely parked on the gearbox of Gus Lawrence as Hodgson has made the move into 4th place on Derek Morgan. So he now comes through into P4. Down on the far side of the circuit, Ravenscroft pumps up the inside of Morgan Porter. That's for P7. So Ravenscroft through into P7 now as they charge after the man in front. That's Cole Kilner. And a double bubble move there, unfortunately, as Callum Barnett loses out to Pritchard Williams and Ben Hodge as they both manage to get through on the S's. But now it is the final stages of this race. Just a minute to go as they come across the line. And it's Gus Lawrence still leading from Thomas Turner. Can Elliot Harvey stay with them? It's going to be a very tight fight for 4th place by the look of it. Hodgson, Morgan, Kilner, Ravenscroft and Morgan Porter. Max Jean's not a million miles away either, only half a second back, so he could join this train. But Thomas Turner has been sizing up this opportunity on Gus Lawrence for a while. Lawrence edges on the brakes on the way down, and that outfoxes the 0 of Thomas Turner. So can the O-plate make his way through? Thomas Turner pushing hard on the back of Gus Lawrence. He's going to work his magic up to the chicane, through the left, through the right. Gus Lawrence working very hard to hold the field at bay. But he's led this race for a long time. And now it's up to him to defend just a little further round. I think we might get 2 laps out of this rather than just 1, because the time is going to tick down. There'll be a handful of seconds left as they cross the line. In fact, it's going to be 5. So 2 laps to go. Lawrence leads. Turner, Harvey and Hodgson. Then Morgan, Ravenscroft, Kilner, Porter, Jean, Butcher, Hodge, Pritchard Williams, Laflamme and Wang. Still great racing all the way through the pack. They know what's at stake. They come up to the far side, down the back straight. And this could be a very strong opportunity for Thomas Turner. He knows that there's a good possibility of a good move as Kilner recovers and dives back up the inside of Morgan. So Derek Morgan has now got assault from Morgan Porter. And Morgan Porter's going to get up the inside of Derek Morgan down the back straight. He's going to get far enough alongside. There's nothing Morgan can do about that. Max Jean not quite close enough to capitalise. But that's Morgan Porter up past Derek Morgan after Cole Kilner had already completed the move on that lap. But now it's going to be a straight fight on the last lap of the race between Gus Lawrence and Thomas Turner. And Lawrence knows it. He's pushing hard on the qualifying lap of his life at the moment, trying to get away from Thomas Turner. 3rd is Harvey, 4th is Hodgson, then it's Ravenscroft and Kilner in front of Morgan Porter and Derek Morgan, then Max Jean and Sean Butcher from Teddy Pritchard Williams and Ben Hodge, Alex Wang, Callum Barnett, Axel Laflamme and Roman LaRue. Down the back straight. I think Gus Lawrence has got plenty of pace actually to run in front of Thomas Turner. There's no major problems from his point of view as they come down the back straight into the hairpin. And they will watch with plenty of energy down the main straight into the chicane, left over the curb, right over the curb, and now up towards the Bobby Game corner. Thomas Turner has done everything he can to keep track of Gus Lawrence, but Gus has so much raw speed around this place. He's made it work. Thomas Turner is going to be close. If he gets the right line out of the final chicane, he's going to have one last crack at it. He's not giving up, but Gus Lawrence is going to get there first. Lawrence wins from Turner. 3rd is Elliot Harvey. 4th is Oliver Hodgson from Clayton Ravenscroft and Cole Kilner. Morgan Porter, Derek Morgan, Max Jean and Sean Butcher. Then it is Teddy Pritchard Williams, Ben Hodge and Alexander Wang. Axel Laflamme and Callum Barnett were side by side at the line. That one's going to need a photo to sort out. Then it's Roman LaRue from Tom Nippers, Eduardo Cosatang, Ryan Green, Abigail Ross, Matilda Olsen, Alexander Patterson, Harry Barlow, Lee Chamberlain and Josh Graham. So they all finished the race. Not all of them in the positions they wanted to be in. In fact, 24 of them are not in the position they wanted to be in because Gus Lawrence is the one who took the victory. So with Gus Lawrence wrapping up the victory, the final one before we get to the repechage, that's obviously going to separate a few of the tall order racers. So we're going to have some tough battles from them. But next up on track, it is going to be the IAME Cadet heat, and that's going to be very closely fought for with some of the best drivers in Britain battling away in this one heat. The others are in the other heats that have already been completed, of course. But we will see what happens in this third race of the day for IAME Cadet as they are building to a crescendo for the top spot. And there are some very talented youngsters in IAME Cadet for the British Championships this year. We've got literally the level of standard of driving is absolutely fantastic. The talent this season is some of the best I've ever seen over the last 21 years I've been watching karting. And yeah, that shows you just how young I was when I started watching it. 12 years old I first started watching karting, thanks to the Art of ITV years ago, and I'm still watching it now. 33 2 weeks from now, man and boy. Here we go. Out onto the grid come the IAME Cadets. And it's going to be an absolute cracker of a meeting as they come out onto the circuit once again. And we'll talk you through the grid for this third heat. Harley Keeble and Brandon Carr with Leo Robinson and Finn McLaughlin, Vinnie Phillips and Alex O'Grady, Macaulay Bishop and Kai Bacchini, and then rounding out the top 10, it's Sonny Smith and Nathan Tye. Ethan Jeff Hall and Lewis Bird from Zach Knight and Cahal Clark, then Joe Katsantonis and Kian Geraghty in front of Newman Chi and Dan Sofranea from Fraser Anderson and Eden Spanswick, who will not start the race after the earlier incident. And then it will be Mason Rudman, Jack Mowat and Ben Smith. So the IAME Cadets warm up the tyres and brakes in formation as they get ready to go into their 2 tram lines down the main straight in what has already been a very busy day at the office for the IAME Cadets. Some great races earlier on in the day. We already have the news that we've had a double win from Kian Nakamura Berta up at the front end of the field. Won the first heat in front of Harry Jr. Burgoyne, in front of Harley Keeble and Aidan Neat, with Harry Jr. Burgoyne fourth from Phillips and Bishop. And in the second heat, Nakamura Berta got the job done again in front of Harry Jr. Burgoyne, Aidan Neat, Maximus Hall, Finn McLaughlin and Brandon Carr. And now we come into this third IAME Cadet heat. We are going to get a different winner, whatever happens, because Kian Nakamura Berta is a spectator this time. Here they come, down the main straight. It's going to be Keeble, Carr, Robinson and McLaughlin. The lights go out, we're racing. And a cracking charge forward as into the lead goes Brandon Carr. Up towards the first start, I think it was, making his way through. No, my apologies, it's Harley Keeble who gets through to the lead from pole position. There's a proper squabble as they make their way up the hill. But it's a much cleaner start this time than we've seen from the previous 2 heats. And already it's a big opportunity for Harley Keeble as he takes an early lead out front ahead of Vinnie Phillips, who's made a terrific start. Vinnie Phillips is right up there in the sharp end of the field. Whoops, up on 2 wheels. Now, who is that? That is the 18, Ethan Jeff Hall, going up. He manages to get back down again before there's any major problems. And that's a big lunge from Mason Rudman on the inside of Cahal Clark. It doesn't work, but very good. He's obviously got good eagerness there, Mason Rudman. Almost loses the place to Zach Knight, but defends it very well, to be fair. So they make their way now through the hairpin and up towards the left-hand flick. And coming down towards the chicane one more time and onto the main straight. Harley Keeble was the pole sitter. He continues to lead, but it's Vinnie Phillips who's worked his way to second place with some cracking moves in the first lap. Robinson is third from Carr, McLaughlin, Bishop, O'Grady, Tye, Smith, Jeff Hall and Kai Bacchini. From Cahal Clark, Mason Rudman, Zachary Knight, Lewis Bird and Joe Katsantonis. From Geraghty, Chi, Anderson, Sofranea, Smith and Mowat. So now it's just these 2 out front. Keeble and Phillips. They've been here 100 times before, and they're going to do so again, I'm sure. Up the inside comes Brandon Carr and Leo Robinson. Brandon Carr's going to make his way through. Nice bit of overtaking there as he gets into 3rd position. So a good bit of dicing as they run in formation. But Harley Keeble leads Vinnie Phillips with Carr now 3rd in front of Robinson. Then it's Macaulay Bishop. It's that boy again. Bishop up into 5th place, doing a magic job as he works his way into the top 6. Just a whisker in front of the very talented Irishman, Finn McLaughlin. Then it's his countryman, Alex O'Grady, as they battle away for the lower end of the top 6. But Keeble versus Phillips is going to get fever pitch before too long. They're trying to stretch out the lead in front of the rest of the field at the moment. There's a warning flag gone out. And that, oh no, it's a mechanical flag. It's Lewis Bird. Lewis Bird has received a mechanical flag. Now, that means he's got a problem with the card and he's going to have to pull in to retire. We'll have to see whether he's already done so. I think he has already done so. That's a real shame for Lewis Bird. He's been putting in such a good effort all weekend. But unfortunately, the ST Racing driver is not going to have the luck this time. What a shame for Lewis Bird. Meanwhile, Vinnie Phillips has bagged the lead. He's got through on Harley Keeble. So Vinnie Phillips has hit the front. And now Harley Keeble's got to try and find a way to come back at him. But Vinnie Phillips in the lead of a race is almost unbeatable when he's got a good rhythm. So Vinnie Phillips hanging on. Harley Keeble going to give him plenty of attention. Brandon Carr through into third in front of Robinson. Then it's Macaulay Bishop again, dialing in behind them and going with Finn McLaughlin as they charge after the third and fourth place. Good racing between them as they go through the Mike Wilson complex. They continue on up the far side. And it's Vinnie Phillips holding the advantage to Harley Keeble. Brandon Carr in front of Robinson. Then it is Bishop in front of McLaughlin. 7th place is Alex O'Grady. Then in 8th place, that is Nathan Tye, the former Birrelart Cadet UK champion. 18 is Ethan Jeff Hall. Sonny Smith and Kai Bacchini just outside the top 10 at the moment. So the BBC Young Sports Commentator of the Year 2018 is just as good a racer as he is a commentator, despite being only 11 years old. And putting on a fantastic job over the Litchfield Bridge. Right in his wheel tracks is Cathal Clark, his teammate. So they go down the straight, and here comes one of the Knight brothers. This time it's Zach up the inside of Cathal Clark, and he's through. Nice move from Zach. And Kai Bacchini now has to duck down and realise he's not going to get some support from his teammate this time. So he needs to bring out the big guns. Meanwhile, Vinnie Phillips in front of Harley Keeble. Then it's Brandon Carr, Robinson, Bishop, McLaughlin, O'Grady. And in 8th place, that's Nathan Tye. Still a good battle in the offing. Plenty of racing still to come from the top guys. And they come through on the far side again. It's not going badly at all for Vinnie Phillips as he dials in with Harley Keeble on his tail. They don't need to battle each other just yet. They just want to tick this time away in 1st and 2nd place. Really good delivery from Vinnie Phillips at the moment. And they continue to battle forward. So it's Phillips, Keeble, Carr, Robinson, Bishop, McLaughlin, O'Grady, Tye, Jeff Hall, Smith, Bacchini, Knight, Cathal Clark, Rudman, Geraghty and Katsantonis, with Chisa, Frenea, Anderson, Mowat and Smith finishing off the field. They go down the back straight again. No attempts for the move yet, although Robinson's going to get the move for third on the inside of Brandon Carr, and Leo Robinson takes the place back. Meanwhile, that's Zach Knight having caught up to and passed Kai Bacchini. So there are some moves around the circuit, but it's settling down as these two. Look, Keeble looks behind him, wants to make sure that the 7, Vinnie Phillips, is not going to be too slow because he wants to look back and see where the gap is. It's a massive gap in IAME cadet terms, 1.5 seconds back to Brandon Carr and Leo Robinson, who are still battling over third, with Robinson no longer there. Brandon Carr has got back through. So Brandon Carr back into third position again. Then Leo Robinson. Then it's Macaulay Bishop. No, it's not. My apologies. It's Finn McLaughlin now who has got past Macaulay Bishop. Bishop is trying to shut down the attack from Alex O'Grady. They rub wheels. O'Grady's got to go through over the grass. And Macaulay Bishop is now having a bit of a tussle. O'Grady goes wheel to wheel with Nathan Tye. And they all just about get away with it. Nathan Tye having got through past Alex O'Grady. But that was very, very close. 3 drivers battling, bumping wheels through the first chicane, and that got very nasty. As for third place, all 3 of them are in the mix. Robinson goes down to 5th as now Carr comes through into 3rd. Finn McLaughlin goes through into 4th position. Bishop is now 6th. Kai Bacchini's back through on Zach Knight, so Kai Bacchini's picked up the place again. And it really is a 2-horse race now out front. Vinnie Phillips and Harley Keeble are a long way clear of Brandon Carr thanks to their battle with Leo Robinson and Finn McLaughlin. Macaulay Bishop's not far away, but far enough away that they don't need to panic too much about him. Vinnie Phillips ahead of Harley Keeble. Brandon Carr 3rd, 4th Finn McLaughlin, and 5th place it is still Leo Robinson. Across the line once more. A great battle between these two up front is in the offing. We're going to the penultimate lap. They're not going to have enough time for more than 2 laps of this race. A great little tussle this is now Cathal Clark has got onto the back of Zach Knight with Kai Bacchini behind them. So there is a nice little mixture of drivers battling away for just outside the top 10. Sonny Smith unable to get the impression on Ethan Jeff Hall in their fight for 9th. But now Vinnie Phillips and Harley Keeble are surely going to start battling any moment now for the victory. They're on the penultimate lap. Brandon Carr, meanwhile, is very well aware of the fact that these two are so far ahead. 3rd position may be the only thing he can compete for in this one. But he'll want to hold it in front of the Irishman, Finn McLaughlin. Finn McLaughlin doing a fantastic job in the Strawberry Racing team. You've got to remember that this team, Strawberry Racing, are still very new to cadets. They've been fantastic at the junior and senior categories for goodness knows how many years, but it's only recently they've started going into cadets as a category, and they've already found some very strong Irish charges for the 2019 campaign in Finn McLaughlin. So let's see how we're going to get on with the race battle into the final lap. Vinnie Phillips ahead of Harley Keeble. Wait for the moment. Keeble's going to think about it, but he's not going to give Vinnie Phillips the satisfaction of knowing when he's going to make the move. Harley Keeble right in behind Vinnie Phillips. Finn McLaughlin through to third position as Robinson tries to get the run on Brandon Carr, but Finn McLaughlin is through to third. Brandon Carr's not done yet. Meanwhile, for the lead, Vinnie Phillips is defending to Harley Keeble down to the hairpin. Phillips rolls off the power. Up the inside of Finn McLaughlin goes Brandon Carr. Finn McLaughlin thinks about it and decides to come back on him on another opportunity. Meanwhile, Harley Keeble is still all over the back of Vinnie Phillips. Third place is anybody's guess as Bishop dives up the inside and grabs third initially. And then Nathan Tye comes through for fourth. Oh, Nathan Tye nearly edges past his teammate and gets through to third. Round the outside comes Bishop for third position. Surely Macaulay Bishop can't get there. He does. Third position round the outside. Amazing. And now through to the lead has come Keeble up in front. He's bided his time, he's made his move, and he's there. Harley Keeble's going to beat Phillips to the flag. And it's going to be a photo finish, but Keeble's just done it. Third position, though, is going to go the way of Nathan Tye in front of Macaulay Bishop. My goodness, what a last lap that was. Such an absolute dogfight, worthy of the Battle of Britain. Amazing. Harley Keeble gets the victory in front of Vinnie Phillips. Nathan Tye fights valiantly to third position in his first ever weekend in the British Kart Championships. Fantastic. Fourth place goes the way of Macaulay Bishop again. Such a dogged, determined fighter, Macaulay Bishop. Fifth place for Leo Robinson. What a comeback from Ethan Jeff Hall in sixth position, made up 5 places. Sonny Smith is seventh in front of Alex O'Grady, with Brandon Carr and Finn McLaughlin in trouble on the last lap, slipping to 9th and 10th. Zach Knight is 11th in front of Cal Clark. Then it's Kai Bacchini, and it is Mason Rudman 14th, up 7 places. Good work from him, ahead of Kian Geraghty. And then Joe Katsantonis in front of Newman Chi, Fraser Anderson, Jack Mowat, Dan Sofranea, and Ben Smith. Goodness me. IAME Cadets final is going to be sensational. That's an absolutely terrific race. And it's Harley Keeble who gets the top spot in front of Vinnie Phillips and Nathan Tye. So we're really going to get a good race from them. The last heat before we get into the repêchages at about 3 o'clock, though, is going to be a fantastic battle for Mini X30 for the second time today. They will go racing. We've had some pretty sensational races already from the juniors, from the seniors, from the IAME cadets, and now we're going to go for the second time of asking with Mini X30. Terrific battles from them earlier in the day, of course, and we could tell you, obviously, after the earlier race encounter from Mini X30, that it was a win for Oliver Greenall with a victory in his race, obviously keeping him in front of Ed Pearson and Jessica Edgar. Ian Aguilera was fourth in the end from Olivier Algieri and Dan Bolton, after Alfie Rigby was given a post-race penalty for basically the penalty he was given was for gaining an unfair advantage, apparently. So he has been docked down to 9th position for the previous race. So it's going to be quite a difficult race ahead of them for the Mini X30, but things are getting quite serious. The race 1 winner yesterday, the round 1 winner, I should say, Alfie Rigby, having won all of his races yesterday, is under some pressure today to try and fight his way back from 9th position at the moment, because obviously they will take the grid for the final from the aggregate of the 2 heats. So now we will wait to figure out who is going to be in that prime position in the reckoning for the Mini X30 final. But the Mini X30 second heat is up next, and what a battle it is turning into. Greenall picking up a victory in front of Pearson and Edgar last time out, in front of Ian Aguilera and Olivier Algieri. Dan Bolton and Marcus Luzio from Bart Harrison and Alfie Rigby. Then Theo Makuris and Gabriel Stilp in front of Alexander Renner and Evan Brown. Then Luke Watts, JJ Russell, Antonio Sofronio, Ashton Parsons, and Aidan Line was classified as 18th, although all of the drivers did manage to finish the race. But there is a long way still to go today, and this race is going to be a critical one to decide the fate of the drivers in position, having a really good battle. They've been absolutely terrific over the course of the day thus far, but now there's more where that came from. So let's see what the drivers can cook up in this final heat before they go racing again properly for the final later. And in Mini X30, they really are going to have a tough fight. So let's see what will happen as they come through onto the main straight once again. And it will be just one time of asking for the Mini X30 drivers to get themselves onto the grid. We wait for the green flag confirmation from everyone around, and we will see a fantastic battle for Mini X30 in this last race before the finals. So here we go, green flag. One race to go for the repêchages, and we're going to see some absolutely spectacular action. Here come the drivers out on track, and it's going to be the same grid that we had from before. So let's talk you through the grid as they are in position. Olivier Algieri and Ed Pearson on the front row from Theo Mercouris and Luke Watts. Oliver Greenall and Alfie Rigby from Jessica Edgar and Marcus Luzio. Ian Aguilera and Alexander Renner from Bart Harrison and Dan Bolton. Then Evan Brown and Aidan Line. JJ Russell and Antonio Sofronio. And then Gabriel Stilp and Ashton Parsons. It's going to be a really tough battle as the drivers prepare for the action. They all want to be at the sharp end of the dais, but it's not going to be easy to get there. They have a lot of work to do, and we'll see plenty of battles from them all as they quest for the top spot. But Olivier Algieri has another opportunity after a struggle of a race in the first heat after gaining pole position from qualifying. Rightly so, he deserved to get to the top spot. He pulled off a cracking lap in qualifying, but now he'll want a little bit more from the kart than he had perhaps in race one. So Algieri and Pearson will be together on the front row of the grid from Mercouris and Watts, Greenall and Rigby, Edgar and Luzio, Aguilera, Renner, Harrison, Bolton, Brown, Line, Russell, Sofronio, Stilp and Parsons as they are in their tram lines ready for the rock and roll moment as they charge down the main straight in their two tram lines and will be ready for the action. Wait for it. The moment is upon us. What a clean start. Away we go. And Algieri support to the first corner from Mercouris. It's 1 and 2 for the team as they go through down to the Litchfield Bridge. So, Croc Promotions 1 and 2 with Algieri in front of Mercouris. They tighten their way round the hairpin. Algieri running a little bit deep but able to get back onto the racing line. Pearson's made a cracking start by the look of it too. He's there in third position in front of Oliver Greenall. And then it is Alfie Rigby and P5. 3 karts together. Now, that looks to me like Jessica Edgar's had a moment there with Dan Bolton. And also off, it was the 11 of, I think it was the 11 of Evan Brown. But it looks to me as though, sadly, Jessica Edgar and Dan Bolton are out of the race at the back of the field. Well, they are going to keep going, but it's too little too late for them. Jessica Edgar, it doesn't look like she's going to get going at all. Disaster. Dan Bolton keeps going. Jess Edgar does not, and I think it's going to be game over for her. What a shame. And despite the marshal tumbling down the hill, that was a big moment there, unfortunately, trying to help the driver off the circuit, but that was a big barrel roll from the marshal down the hill. I don't think they would like me to remind them of that. But Olivier Algieri leads the way from Ed Pearson now, having got through on Theo Mercouris, and he's not the only one. Oliver Greenall's got through into second place. Alfie Rigby's now through to third on Ed Pearson. And in fifth place, it's Theo Mercouris in front of Luke Watts. So all bar Jessica Edgar, the main championship protagonists are in position, but a very distraught Jessica Edgar is out of the race. Theo Mercouris gets back on the inside of Pearson and Watts and breaks back into fourth position. Watts makes a big dive. Mercouris is not going to fall for that one. Oh, and that was a close moment as Watts cuts across on Pearson. They managed to dive out of the throttle just in the nick of time, but that could have got fairly spicy at the wrong moment there. So the battle continues as they come round to the Mike Wilson complex once again. And they will cut back into position onto the chicane, through the left, through the right. And your race leader is still Olivier Algieri. So Olivier Algieri is having a good run in the lead of the race from Greenall and then Rigby, Mercouris, Watson, Pearson from Aguilera, Luzio, Harrison, Renner, Sofronio and Aidan Line. Then Gabriel Stilp and JJ Russell from Ashton Parsons, Evan Brown and Dan Bolton at the back of the grid after his tangle on the first lap with Jess Edgar. Bolton got going again. Edgar did not. So Mercouris up to fourth place. Here comes the lead change. Greenall's going to get up the inside of Olivier Algieri. The door is still open for Alfie Rigby. He gets through as well. So Greenall leads, Rigby second, Algieri third. Then it is Watts in fourth, in front of Pearson and McCurris. Then it is the Mexican Ian Aguilera in front of Bart Harrison and Marcus Luzio. They take their way through the chicane and up onto the Bobby Game corner through the right-hander again and up to the loop. So they go through to the Mike Wilson complex, through the long looping right-hander, into the left square, and then back onto the chicane once more. Very tough race circuit. It is the only FIA grade track in Great Britain. And down the main straight. Through to the right, through to the left, under the Litchfield Bridge, and charging forward again underneath the Litchfield Bridge, round the hairpin. And it is Greenall out in front of Rigby and Algeria. Warning flag has gone out, this time to Bart Harrison. I didn't see him do anything silly and untoward with Marcus Luzio, but obviously the officials have seen something they didn't like. But Greenall is your leader in front of Rigby. Then it is Algeria. Watts going very deep thanks to a little bit of a rub from Ed Pearson. The McCurris in 6th position. 7th place is Ian Aguilera. And then you've got Harrison in 8th in front of Luzio. They continue to charge their way forward through the field. They come off the chicane and on the run to Bobby Game corner. Still plenty of power, plenty of pace at the front end of the field. And we've still got plenty of time. 4 minutes plus the additional lap as a new warning flag comes out, this time for Evan Brown. Now I wonder... Oh, Evan Brown is pointing at his right front wheel. Now, what is Evan Brown pointing at as he goes down the back straight? The leaders come through the main straight, but Evan Brown is pointing at his right front wheel. I'm not entirely sure what is happening there, but as he is going to make his way into the pits, yes, he's going to pull off to retire, so Evan Brown has got a problem. That's a shame. Oliver Greenall leads the way from Alfie Rigby. Third is Olivier Algieri. Then it's Watts, Pearson, McCurris, Aguilera, and McCurris is going to make a late decision to go for the inside of Pearson, and that works out fine. No problem for Theo McCurris up to P5. Now Pearson's got to defend from Ian Aguilera. Aguilera having a really good run here. Made his British Championship debut, of course, last year, mid-season. And there's a mechanical flag coming out. Now, who's that for? That is for Gabriel Stilp. So Gabriel Stilp in the mid-pack, unfortunately, has been given a mechanical flag. Now, that means he's got damage to the kart that is unrepairable by the look of it, or certainly is going to need to come into the pits to repair it because it causes a risk to the other drivers. Greenall, Rigby, Algieri, Watts, McCurris and Pearson in front of Aguilera, Harrison and Luzio. Let's have a look at Stilp's kart. I can't see anything, but maybe it's not cosmetic. Maybe it's something else that's causing a bit of an issue. Gabriel Stilp is still motoring around, having a bit of a battle, but unfortunately he's been given the mechanical flag, and so that means that he will have to come into the pits to fix the problem, and that effectively ends his race. So out in front, still no issues at all for our two leaders, Greenall and Rigby. Algieri running well in third from Watts, McCurris, and then it is Aguilera in front of Pearson. 8th is Harrison, 9th is Luzio, and the battle for 10th is between the German Alexander Renner and Aidan Line. So some good tussling. I think Gabriel Stilp has realised that he's got that mechanical problem, so Stilp is going to bring the kart into the pits. He does so now. He's very unhappy about it. Who wouldn't be? 1 minute 45 left on the time as they go under the Litchfield Bridge once again through the chicane and round the hairpin. Rigby's still dialing up a moment here on Oliver Greenall. There's still an opportunity to make the move stick. He's going to have a really exciting battle as they come through on the back straight. So now Greenall with Rigby dialing in behind him. McCurris is trying to make his move on the back of Watts, but Algieri is the next man in for Watts to try and approach as they come off the hairpin down the short straight. That's Luzio, by the way, getting through on the inside of Bart Harrison for 8th place, a little further back. So Greenall has still got pressure from Rigby. Watts is through to third. He's made the lunge on Algieri, and now he's through into P3 with McCurris charging after them. And in 6th place, that is still the Mexican Ian Aguilera. So they will battle away for position. And now they come out of the loop at the Mike Wilson complex. Is Rigby going to make his bid to get through? He's running out of time. They're only going to have 2 laps to go at the end of this one. Oliver Greenall down the straight. Alfie Rigby is not close enough for a move yet. He's going to have to pull out the qualifying lap of his life to get onto the tail of him in time to go for the battle. But that's exactly what he's doing. He's gone much faster through the first hairpin. He's already cut that gap in half just in one corner. Out of turn 5. Greenhill is not going to be cutting through the air as efficiently as Alfie Rigby. Rigby might make the lunge very late into the first hairpin. He doesn't. Watts is catching them, though, in third. Then Makuris, who's up to fourth past Algieri. And then it's Aguilera in front of Ed Pearson. This could still be a multiple driver fight for the victory because they're all still close in. Into the chicane. Over the curbs. Left, right on the short stretch. Down to the far side of the circuit through Bobby Gane corner. And now we've got just a little over a lap to go in this race. It's going to be a very tight battle as through they come onto the main straight once again. And now on the throttle. There's 7 of them in a line as the checkered flag is 1 lap away. Last lap. Here we go. Greenhill defends, perhaps a little bit too hesitantly to Rigby in second place, who's just going to come at him from a few car lengths back and start to make his bid to come through. Watts is there in third, Makuris fourth, Algieri fifth, Aguilera sixth, and Pearson seventh. Any one of these 7 could still take the victory. Heaven knows what's going to happen in this last lap, as already the defence has come from Greenhill. He holds the inside line through the hairpin. The whole 7 of them tightens up. Protecting the inside line like mad for Greenhill. Alfie Rigby's going to get on the undercut. Greenhill's going to chop across and shut Alfie Rigby down. Rigby keeps his foot in, and that's going to be a beautiful move for the lead. Well taken by Alfie Rigby. And now Watts is going to try the same move on Greenhill. It's not going to work. Makuris changes ground and comes round for the outside. But Greenhill's going to hang on for second. Watts is going to hang on for third in front of Makuris, unless Makuris could try one final trick. He can't, but it's a victory for Alfie Rigby. What a fantastic comeback. Brilliant win. Second place for Greenhill. Third for Watts. Fourth for Makuris. And then it is Algieri from Aguilera and Pearson. Luzio 8th from Harrison 9th. Aiden Line in front of Alexander Renner. Sofronio, Russell and Ashton Parsons, with retirements aplenty, unfortunately, in that race from Gabriel Stilp, from Daniel Bolton, from Evan Brown and Jessica Edgar on the first lap. What a race that was in Mini X30, and Alfie Rigby taking a much-needed victory with a brilliantly decisive move on Oliver Greenhill. Greenhill not risking his position. He will get pole position for the final, but it's only just getting started. A quick pause in proceedings. We'll come back to the action again at 3 o'clock, and then the repêchages and the finals will give us an indication as to who is going to be leading the championship heading to the second weekend of the series. But round 2 of the Motorsport UK British Kart Championships here at PF International for the IAME classes is just getting good. I'm Jake Sanson. Join us again at 3 o'clock when there's going to be more great action around the PF International circuit. I can't wait.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingham and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jacques Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.